everyone, and welcome to day number 5 of the Anger Games Rebirth. I am Monsieur, and with me I'm having a bunch of lovely people, having a Surak, moderator, and Itika Hawk on camera. Say hello to the viewers.
Hello, viewers.
And in addition, we are having Dujek, Onai, and Wingnut with us today as commentators as well. So we're having some great matches lined up for today, as it is the second last day of the tournament, and 8 teams will turn into 3 teams. So we're going to have to say goodbye to 5 teams, and it's 8 great teams we're having left. So we're going to have some exciting matches. So I can ask the desk here, is there any of the matches you are looking forward to in particular?
I mean, I'm really interested to see Goondra Unloaded go up against Warlords of the Deep. Warlords, of course, very storied team, very experienced team, and some great pilots. Goondra, a bit of a surprise. I'm told that even the team is a little bit surprised that they've reached this far, but they have been doing really well. So I'm excited to see if they can pull off some sort of upset. Warlords have been known to drop matches to lower tier teams in the past, so perhaps Goons can pull out something crazy. So I'm super looking forward to that. I think both matches in the winners bracket, Test Alliance, TEMPLIS, CALSF, that should be really good. TEMPLIS, CALSF, of course, won the Alliance Open last year. So yeah, the winners bracket is just a who's who of talent at the moment, and the Goons. So let's see how they can do.
I mean, you can't just look forward to every match.
One thing worth noting is that in Alliance Open, we had open practice, and Goons actually beat Warlords of the Deep in one of the matches. So maybe to have it again could certainly be an interesting upset, even though I'm really rooting for my friends in Warlords. So how about you, moderator? Have you been keeping track of these teams?
Yeah, I've been just coming into casting for this weekend, but I've been watching the VODs and keeping track of the matches so far. We've had some very exciting ones, in particular Warlords in Volta last week, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of very nail-biting and grueling matches as people are trying to keep themselves alive in the lower bracket and avoid falling there in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen some fierce competition already. Surak, any matches you're looking forward to?
I think for the matches I'm looking forward to, it's not what we have technically scheduled right now, but I think what a lot of people might be looking forward to is actually seeing Goondra versus Test happen. So if Goondra managed to win their game versus Warlords, which is quite plausible, they've been on quite a hot streak here, and Test take it off TEMPLIS there, we could see them face off there in the semi-finals match. Although I must say, Test against TEMPLIS probably going to be a bit of an uphill battle for them. TEMPLIS coming across extremely strong lately, so I think that will be the highlight for me if that match actually ends up happening.
Yeah, it would definitely be something everyone wanted to see. They have been smack talking on Reddit for weeks now, and War has been really dragging on. So seeing them compete in the tournament for the extra bragging rights could have been really fun to see. But they still have, each of them have to win another match before they can face their arch enemy.
That is true. And I think also worth mentioning today, which is probably going to be more fun for the audience, is we'll be having 3 showcase matches later, which is putting a bit of a spin on the rules. So I'm also going to be really looking forward to those to see what the teams bring to mess around a bit and have some fun.
Yeah, and for the show matches, we're seeing some of the teams that were eliminated come back again, having a chance to prove their worth in a slightly different format than what we're used to. But the first match is coming up in 5 minutes, and that is Volta versus AP Stole My Fit. So Ifika, you are in Volta. think your boys can take it?
I do. I think they are secretly the number one team in the league. That is due to the fact that they're very good at counting and can count to one at least. So if they aim for position number one, then they can't make a mistake. I mean, you're also in Volta, Miz, I'll just point out. I mean, we could say that Volta is the ISSW B team after the Alliance Open. However, ISSW this time didn't do so well. I think they went 0-2, which is a shame. But Volta, living to win, they get knocked down by, I think, Warlords, which is not exactly a slouch team to beat anyway. So I think they can have a decent run through the losers bracket. AP Stole My Fit got knocked down weekend 1, I think, on the second day, and they've been tearing it up in the losers bracket. But I think that tear streak might be about to end.
Yeah, so Volta have been really well done for their counting. So Ithaca, maybe you can help them a bit and tell them how many destroyers are they allowed to bring today?
It depends how much they bribe the refs here. I can, of course, submit that bribe. So just send straight to Ithaca Hawk. I take it in multiples of billions. We start at 10 billion, and then I can make sure that gets to the right people. The rules say 3, but don't let that stop you bringing as many as you want to bring. Don't let your memes be dreams. The rules say 2. There you go. So proving that I am part of Volta.
All right, Suraj, can you give me give me the bans for this match?
Well, I don't think we've gone over these bans yet. We actually have here. So on the WeForm Volta side, they've gone and banned the Dominix, Nighthawk, and the Curse. AP Stole My Fit decided to ban the Atarma, Zarm, and Oracle. So the bans coming from Volta, I think, seem rather standard for what we've been seeing happening in the tournament. And AP Stole My Fit taking a different approach, going for the kind of support ships mainly, and then getting that attack battle cruiser. The Etana obviously being a real core ship here behind a lot of the shield comps that have been happening. It being one of the only special limited edition ships we've allowed in the tournament in order to try and push people towards shields, which has happened, but that's also why we're seeing it ban now. The Zarm is coming across as the interesting ban for me because we've had it's one of those hit and miss ships, I think, where normally because of its spool mechanic being Triglavian, it can be negated from just switching targets. But then it's featured well when there's been control setups where you can normally just present 1 or 2 targets to your enemy at a time, or ECM where you limit the amount of targets they can shoot. And that it also has one of the most effective ranges for logistics, and it's also priced a bit cheaper than the other ones. But for me, that's the interesting part for these bans then.
As a moderator, with these bans, what do you think the teams are looking for to field?
Well, Volta, clearly, they just don't want to deal with Nighthawk. They don't want to deal with the massive close-range damage that could represent. They don't want to get neuted. And they have also banned the Dominix, which is known for being, just an excellent drone and blaster boat. So Volta choosing not to want to get neuted, and AP Stole My Fit more or less banning out notably two of the stronger logistics, and then the Oracle. Oracle ban, not something we've seen a lot until just recently, I believe.
So why do you think they have banned the Oracle?
Just a lot of damage, not a lot of point cost. People tend to think of the Oracle on Tranquility as this kind of shield ship that you kite around in, or something that you bash structures with, but you can actually get a lot of relatively good amount of tank and just a lot of guns that do battleship damage. So powerful ship that we've seen teams been using in the last couple rounds here.
All right, and with that, we're going to send it to the arena as both teams have landed on the grid. And the match will be commentated by Wingnut and Ithaca.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first match for the day. We form Volta versus AP Stole My Fit. I'm, of course, Wingnut, joined by Ithaca, and I see a lot of Garista stuff. Do you want to talk us through it, Ithaca?
Yeah, so we've got two really interesting comps, and both of them come in very similar to each other, 90 degrees from each other. So I'll go through AP Stole My Fit first. They're bringing Rattlesnake, Claymore, Double Gila, Scalpel, Worm, and a Burst. So mixed Tech 1 Frigate Logi there, which is super interesting. And they're going up against Volta with double Hyperions, Guardian, Pontifex, Hyena, Blackbird, and a Nurgle. So Volta going for control and just tank with those Hyperions.
Yeah, and with a Guardian as well. I'm still not a big fan of the choice, but we have seen it work in the past, so let's go as the match has started and they're on the way.
Yeah, the Guardian is usually not picked over the Neros in these situations, but if they're picking it, then they've got a reason for it. TikTok in the Hyena is taking a lot of damage really quickly. I mean, they want to get those webs off so that they can stop those Hyperions just approaching in on things. And I see Scram on that Claymore of Domestic Kadesh, who is the team captain from Control Freak there. So the Volta team rushing and trying to lock down the more elusive ships of the AP Stole My Fit team.
Yeah, AP Stole My Fit, obviously going straight for that Hyena, but that allowed Theranos, Valarak, and the Nurgle to go straight for the Rattlesnake and tackle it down. I don't expect the Rattlesnake would be going particularly fast, but now the Nurgle's got him, so he has no chance of MJDing or Michael Warp driving. So if that Hyperion wants to kill them, they absolutely can. But you can see a Gila already burning over to give this Nurgle a hard time. This might not have been the best decision, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Nurgle is obviously got his ADC still to go, I believe. He's still taking damage fairly consistently. So it looks like Plant Sticks in the Guardian is keeping him alive, although he is dropping a little bit faster now. I imagine he's going to start popping his ADC soon, and maybe swarms of bots might land on him as well to try and keep him alive. But, I mean, the longer he holds down Damascus Kadesh in the Claymore, the better. And it looks like those Hyperions are just sitting right on top of him.
Oh, perfect. That Claymore's going to go down. It's going to be the Lynx all gone, but I think this Nurgle currently holding down the Rattlesnake. I don't know if Rattlesnake particularly needs to be held down. They're not really the most mobile things in most of these battlefields. But the Claymore goes down.
Claymore's about to die. He's in low hull. He got a little bit of shield in there. Some damage is just stopped. I don't know if maybe both Hyperions hit.
The Hyperions are moving. Oh god. I don't know if I swear the Hyperions are moving a bit too fast and out-track their own guns for a moment. They're now finally stopping again.
Damage is going back on. There we go. So the Claymore is going to go down, but that was about 15 seconds they could have done with him being off the field for. If he got another set of bursts out there, that could make a huge amount of difference later on in this match. Planet 6 in the Guardian is looking under a bit of pressure again. He's dropping through half armor right now. I don't see any tackle on him, so he should be able to just burn away and get away from the damage that's coming in, but he still needs to then rep back up before he can come back in, perhaps even reload something.
Amazing work from TikTok Toxic. By the way, a moment that Claymore went down, he's already got webs onto this Gila, and you see the Hyperions immediately burning over for that Gila. Not going for the Rattlesnake yet. They're going for
the really struggling here. Those Rattlesnake drones doing work on him, and he's down. So that is the Guardian down for the WeForm Volta team here. So trading links for logistics could be interesting. I mean, Hyperions are known to have a massive local tank, but can they out-tank 2 Gilas and a Rattlesnake still?
I mean, potentially, I've had to kill off one of these Gilas ASAP before the damage starts piling on. But you see now the Hyena, with no more Logi left, he's going to be removed pretty soon as well. He's going to try his best, try and maybe run away, take the drones with him.
Yeah, he is trying to burn away from the arena, and taking drones away can be quite interesting. It looks like it's the worm drones that are following around. Theronth goes down in the Nurgle, so that is the tackle gone, and if there's a Hyena as well, that's a lot of control gone for the Volta team. They'll find it really hard to get those Hyperions on top of things that are faster than them, which is almost every ship in the game. Certainly those 2 Gilas can outrun Hyperions.
Well, luckily at the moment, they have got one of those Gilas tackled down. I suspect once that's down, unless they can get a tackle on the second Gila, they're going to rush for that Rattlesnake next, I suspect. Because, as you say, they're not exactly the fastest ship, and Gilas can give them a good run.
Yeah, and of course, the AP team still has both logistic ships available. They are still just frigates. They're not as good as a Guardian, but what's better than a dead Guardian? 2 alive frigates. So they are still keeping things not necessarily alive as Gila going down, but they're making it harder and longer.
They're buying time, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. They're gonna keep things alive under 2 Hyperions worth of DPS, but the idea is just to do it long enough, just survive long enough to be able to provide enough reps to keep your team ahead. Because at the moment, their team is very much ahead.
Yeah, now if they can kill this second Gila, if they can catch him and kill him before Cebus goes down in the Pontifex, then that is a
Oh,
decent
no.
position for the Volta team, because not very many things left can probably hit the Pontifex, and keeping that alive gives them extra links. Now, Cebus, it looks like he's burned away. He's still getting chased by Gila drones, and they're getting a few hits in. It's going to be touch and go, but I don't think the Hyperions are going to catch another Gila in time.
Nope, they're not going for it. I definitely called it. They're going straight for that rattlesnake, which is honestly probably the right call. It's the one thing they can actually hit, but that rattlesnake hasn't really moved. I don't think he might even have a prop. So that means he's going to be a max tank rattlesnake. That is going to suck to try and take down.
Yeah, and Annie in the Hyperion is dropping past half armor now. He's at 30% armor remaining. He is boosting, so he has to have a local tank to keep him alive. Crazy Vania and the Blackbird, though, taking a bunch of damage. So obviously he's jammed probably like a Gila or the Rattlesnake, and that thing is now just chasing him around, doing some damage to him. So a lot of damage being split across basically indicates that Blackbird is having some effect. But is it going to be enough? Are they going to kill this Rattlesnake? If Annie drops, if a jam doesn't land and stop the damage on Annie, then this could be over for Volta.
Yeah, but I'm seeing smart bombs going off from the Hyperions. I'm actually kind of wondering if that's more of a negative than a positive right now, because I don't know where the Rattlesnake's drones are. I don't think you're going to kill them with a smart bomb. Meanwhile, their drones just got deleted, I think. I could be wrong. I swear I saw a bunch of them pop. But there goes the Hyperion. He's right in low hull. He's
got one rep off. He's repping a cap. There he goes. He's down. So okay, so now you've got one Hyperion of Control Freak. There's still some links from Cebus. Nope, they were gone as well. And I think
never mind.
yeah, the Blackbird and the Pontifex both died at the same time. So now it's down to Control Freak, the French-Canadian hero of the Alliance, to try and solo a Rattlesnake, a Gila, a Scalpel, a Worm, and a Burst.
Remember I mentioned earlier about how the Burst and Scalpel can't really keep things alive? Well, now at this point, they probably can. That Rattlesnake has a lot of resist.
Yeah, exactly. So they can probably slow down the death process enough that the Rattlesnake doesn't die before the Hyperion goes down. And it looks like GF's in local from the Volta team, so they realise that this is a lost cause. So AP Stole My Fit takes a very nice win there over Volta, who are now eliminated from the tournament completely.
I don't know if that Hyperion doesn't have a smart bomb, but now would also be the time to start using it. There are actually drones around you that you can kill. Hammerheads, Acolytes.
It's quite possible he has no cap left.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, there he is. There it is. He fired it off.
There you go. And he is wearing the police skin, so he does get bonus points for that, but he unfortunately is no longer alive, so he cannot redeem them. And with that, we will hand it back to the studio.
All right, welcome back to the desk. That was surprising, at least for me and Ifika. I am going to rub some salt in the wound, going to share the pain with you. What do you think?
I thought at first the Volta Cup was better. I don't know what happened to the Guardian. I think perhaps Planet 6 was caught maybe out of position and took more damage initially than he intended and had to burn a bunch of charges, and he didn't maybe get a reload off in time, or thought about it but didn't commit to one. But losing the Guardian earlier than they probably wanted to it's a major blow. They started out all right at the start when they removed the links. That getting that Claymore down was great, but yeah, trading a Guardian for it, obviously it started to tip at that point, and that was it.
Just to speak on the Guardian point, was keeping up a majority of the match. There was a bunch of rep drones. He was actually had quite an effective cloud on him there. And then when he started taking damage, you could see the rep drones were gone. I'm not too sure if they got bombed off or something. I might have missed that, but they might have just moved them off. And when he was dipping to heavy, like low armor, you could see the new wave of heavy rep drones coming out from the Hyperions to try save him, but they were just too slow to get on top of him, and that's actually what caused him to die as well. Just losing that rep cloud, which they either lost or was just moved away to put damage somewhere else.
So this is one of these situations. Like the Sarmast is known for having a better tank than the other two, take two armor logistics. Do you think having a Sarmast would have allowed them to keep the Lodge alive in this situation? The AP team did ban the Sarmast.
Even if it didn't necessarily keep it alive permanently, it could very well have prolonged the death, which could have been enough to try to swing things in the favor of Volta. Quick shout out actually to the Rumpf in the Nurgle. He did identify that the Rattlesnake was using torpedoes, and critically, that Rattlesnake was not in range of both of the Hyperions when those Hyperions were pounding into the Claymore of Damascus Kadesh. So really excellent job of pinning that down and recognizing what needed to happen. But more to your point, clearly Zarm might have been more towards what they were going for, and possibly part of the ban strategy of AP Stole My Fit, knowing that they wanted to have to not deal with it.
So, Dujek, the Volta team brought a Blackbird in their setup, and they were facing against a drone setup. How much value do you think they got out of that Blackbird? Because drones are normally really good against the ECM.
Very little, I think. In fact, you have the Blackbird that doesn't really get going if you don't jam something before the drones have let loose. But also, the webs are only used defensively for your own team. You're not really preventing much damage onto your own team by webbing down, say, a blaster battleship or something to that effect. Like, once the drones are out and they're on their target, you're not going to spend time webbing them. So once the Hyperions were onto the Claymore, those webs stop having like a very pivotal role, and the Blackbird obviously was never in a great position to begin with.
Yeah, so it looks a bit like the Volta team got a bit outdrafted, still played well, I would say. Maybe the rep drones were a bit too late and they could have saved it. But in the end, it was not enough for them. And they were unfortunately eliminated.
I think just a final comment I want to make on the match there is at near the end there, it might have made a bit of a difference. It's a bit hard to see from my perspective because well, we have limited access to fancy UI stuff, but the Blackbird seemed to be focusing his jams on the burst and the scalpel there. Near the end, it might have mattered a bit because the Rattlesnake was starting to dip low and they might have considered a bit of a race, but there was a long while, well, no real damage was being applied, so those reps, jamming them wouldn't have been that effective anyway. And maybe to speak more into the question, which was directed to Dudek, I'm not too sure how much jams were actually being put onto taking out those Rattlesnake drones as well. You know, being less targets and jamming them might have been a lot more effective than just jamming two scalpels. Scalpel and a burst the whole time. So maybe one of them will volunteer some information to us after the time so we can get more accurate information about what was occurring there. But that's just something I want to point out is maybe, you know, jamming the scalpel and the burst might not have been the best idea when there's Rattlesnake drones on the grid.
Yeah, so I see you nodding, moderator. So can you elaborate on this when it comes to Garista's drones and E-War?
Yeah, sure. So between the three major Garissa ships, you're going to have two drones, the Gila being medium drone bonus towards damage and HP, but only deploying two drones instead of the normal flight of 5 as compared to most other ships. The same thing with the Rattlesnake having 2 bonus heavy drones. You can just decide, hey, I'm going to put your jams on top of the drone and say, I'm not going to bother actually jamming any sort of logistics or incoming damage. Drones having infamously low sensor strength, probably the Blackbird choosing to put his utility onto those drones instead.
Yes, so you both of you are saying that it would be better for the Blackbird to try and jam out some of these drones to alleviate the pressure on the Guardian.
Well, it might have also just helped them win the Hyperion kind of race there. You know, Hyperions might have It's hard to say. It's a lot of what ifs. I think the main point that comes is it's more consistent onto less targets. That's so when you're playing with something which is ECM RNG, you want to take as much RNG out of it as possible.
Yeah, most definitely. And as you say, we can get quite well caught off in what if situations. So let's move on to the next match. It's also in the elimination bracket, and it's Sudden Vydra versus Waffles. So Vydra has been known for quite a well tournament performance. Won 82 times, I believe. And facing up against Waffles. So the bans for this match is Scimitar, Armageddon, and Dominix for Sudden Vydra, and Blackbird, Widow, and Curse for Waffles. Yeah. So Efika, can you? What are your thoughts about these bans?
Well, the Waffles team obviously don't want to see any form of ECM in control. Banning the Blackbird, saying, "Hey, please don't jam me," and then banning the Curse, saying, "Hey, please don't tracking or guidance disrupt me," which kind of sort of makes me think they want to bring something kind of kitey. Whereas Vydra banning Scimitar, and that basically is the kitey logi of the shield, and of course Armageddon with those range bonus newts. So I think both teams are maybe preferring to brawl with this setup, like with these bans here, like they want to be around at 0. I don't know. It's an interesting set of bans. I think if I'm Waffles, I'm a bit confused about Vydra's bans here, and then they might second guess themselves. So Vydra might just win this on theory crafting. I don't know. I have to see what they bring first.
So anyone else have some comments on the bans?
Well, Vydra brought a full drone comp in their last match and have banned out to their own Dominix that they took, whereas Waffles brought a full Newt comp, and they've had that severely hampered by the Armageddon ban. So we'll see completely new setups from what they've been flying very recently anyway.
Yeah, and I can see that the teams are landing on the grid, so you're going to take it out to the arena with the moderator and Surauk commentating.
All right, and welcome to the arena here, where we have game 54 of Sudden Vydra versus Waffles. So on the grid here right now, we can already see Vydra is coming here, strong in with the Shack, a Rook, Old Navy issue, Pontifex, Heretic, Purifier, and an Oneirus. Moderator, what are we seeing on the other side here of Waffles?
Yeah, Waffles choosing to bring a pair of Augur Navy issues, an Absolution, Hyperion, Vengeance, Zarmzed, and Claw to round out their tackle here. Both sides choosing to bring just very close range, very heavy damage ships. Vydra choosing to throw in some ECM after the Rook having been banned just in the draft phase.
It's going to be interesting to see the matchup here of the logistics of the Oneirus versus the Zarm, especially because the Rook is going to be opposing that Zarm right now. So, maybe some resets is going to end up punishing them from that Zarm pick right now.
Yeah, and immediately off the bat, we're seeing that the Waffle side is trying to take a pick onto Nika Noiser, trying to get the bomb torpedo damage off the grid, and splitting a little bit of damage onto the Rook, choosing to try to get some ECM damage off the field. The Purifier now burning well and truly away, safety outside of scorch range. Both teams right now just sort of jockeying for position at the moment, though the Hyperion on the Waffle side in the lead is taking the brunt of the incoming damage from Vydra.
Yeah, the Nick knows they're definitely making a good getaway there, but the Rook now on the Vydra side of Alex is looks like he's in a bit of thick of it. Raptor and Cloud has effectively helped secure him right now, so they're not going to be losing that. But definitely, Annalise there in the Hyperion is getting chunked away right now. That bomber of Nicky Noise are definitely contributing a lot to the damage right now, and the Leshak is just going to keep spooling up damage.
Yeah, we can see that the Rook has been now primary. You see the Hyperion, the Augur Navy issues are on top of it. But so far, Vydra just doing an excellent job of playing screening. The Purifier has been tackled by the Heretic, and the Purifier is just able to burn around. The Claw now chasing after it, but still will be rather safe. And just superior control all around by Vydra, just pinning down the targets that would be of the most concern to that side.
Yeah, it does seem like they are going to be able to get this Hyperion down, and from there, I'm gonna have to say they're definitely gonna just have a snowball effect here with their control. I'm gonna have to say with that. What's interesting to me is the absolution of Leo staying back right now. I just need to confirm on the Lynx range. Okay, so it does still have the bonus to the duration and strength, but I'm just concerned with the absolution staying back there right now. Most of the fight is he's not getting links to most of his team right now.
Yeah, that might have been a factor in the Hyperion going down as fast as it did. Speaking of things going down, Tom Amakar in his Augur Navy issue is well into half armor, and there's no real appreciable damage coming onto the Vydra side. Vydra having just pinned down all of these ships, and the Rook still just dishing jams out across the field.
And we definitely see that all go down there. And taking a look at the Zarm of Sarah, no reps coming out from him, just firing off his smart bombs in anger there as he's likely being jammed by Alex and the Rook. Very frustrating for Zarm. While these Orgs generally pair up very well with the Zarm due to their raw HP bonus, allowing the Zarm to split up, it just doesn't help if you can never lock.
We see a bomb going off from Nika Noiser. I don't think that's actually going to hit anything. Maybe a little bit of BM. Now we see the Waffles trying to put damage onto Randolph Sykes' Oneros. No rep drones on top of him, but it's very much too little too late at this point. Waffles falling apart now at this point.
Yeah, so the Randolph being tackled there by the claw of Gemma doesn't really matter. He doesn't have webs applied to him, so normal fit for Oneros would be dual props of 2 injectors in the mid. Maybe some people like to put a sense booster in instead, but definitely using his AB to get away, not really caring for that scram from the claw from Gemma. So he's likely still going to be fine, as they're just still going to be looking up to maybe get away with these chunky Org Navies, although we've seen a bit of tickle damage there on Absolution.
Yeah, this Absolution appears to be solidly beam fit, kind of kiting away and applying links at range. What he really needs to do is close the gap and apply Gleam, and probably have done so about 4 minutes ago, but nothing really on the Vydra side taking much damage. Nick and Noiser was into about half armor, but Johnny now exploding, and Gemma soon to follow thereafter.
Now it's interesting for the Rook here of Alex. I'm wondering what jams they would have chosen. So I think depending on if you put a injector or not, a Rook can get about 6 jams in its mids here. So Volta would have banned out the Etana, Zarm, and Oracle. I don't see those. Sorry. Volta banned out the Dominic's, Nighthawk, and Curse. So they weren't really trying to force AP Storm. Oh, I am completely on the wrong bans. My bad. Let me recollect myself here. So Southern Vydra didn't really try and direct the bans too much, if only the Scimitar ban here. So I would like to find out what what jams they chose on the Rook, but that's generally some secret tech the teams keep to themselves.
I would not be surprised if we saw nearly all Amar jams across the board, with maybe a bit of a smattering of some other jams. We're now seeing the absolution of Liol go down here. The Zarmzad running across the arena looks like he's heading for one of the micro jump drive units here. Possibly
Definitely
going to the
for
Glory, and seeing good fights now in the local chat.
So that's a well-earned victory for Vydra, as Sarah's going to spool the MG here. He's going to see how far he can get. Hopefully maybe he'll set a new record, but at this and the heretic scrams him there for some bad manners, no boundary violation for you. So it looks like they're not going to allow Sarah to finish himself off, instead trying to get him kill every single lost ship themselves.
Yeah, and maybe the Amar Jam guess is right. We've seen a particularly upset Waffles member saying a word I won't repeat about jams and hashtag fair and balanced. So quite likely that many of their ships were not able to do much in the way of actually applying damage or tackle this set.
So, they're just going to finish up getting this arm now. The heretic maybe of head stopping the boundary self-suicide here. Must say, Nico Noisier probably contributed quite a lot to his team winning here, having that clean getaway in the beginning and able to apply that extra insane torque damage onto the battleships to push that victory. Just to make sure that the Rook wasn't going to go down there in the early moments of the game.
Yeah, when you choose to bring a pretty top-heavy setup, you really need your bombers to be pushing out damage to kind of compensate for the fact that you're sinking so many points into that recon. And Nika Noiser was definitely doing that, just pounding away at the incoming Augur Navy issue. More on that at the desk as Vydra cleanly sweeps it 100-0.
And I just have
Hi. Clearly I'm not the real Brisker Ball. But sometimes it's not so easy to know what's real and what's fake. When on Reddit, check your facts. Drink quaff.
This message was paid for and sponsored by Quaff. Now introducing Quaff Glow, the incandescent beverage.
So Vydra once again showed their master of ECM as they spread that jam all over the Waffles and taking the victory. We are having people both in local and in Twitch chat talking about ECM as a mechanic. It's been one of the most controversial use of setups throughout the EVE tournament history. So what do you guys think about ECM?
I think ECM is a fair and balanced mechanic. That's what I think.
I think ECM is one of those things where it's depending on what happened to you is what your viewpoint's gonna be. It's easy to look on paper and say, these are the chances and this is the stats and so, and say, hey, that's what we have for you. But how you feel is normally depends on what just happened to you. I do find it interesting that for all the flack that ECM gets and for all the changes we've made, the one rig we still don't have is a sensor strength rig.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the thing about ECM is it's so hard to change it really without just completely removing the mechanic. As it was originally intended. The change they made a couple of years ago, where the jamming ship could be locked by whoever he jammed, I think was a really interesting change, especially in small gang and tournament mechanics. Because let's say, as we saw in the Volta match just earlier on, you jam Aguila. Well, congratulations, that Gila can't lock and shoot anybody else, but he can certainly lock and shoot you in your Blackbird or your Kitsune or whatever. So if you're jamming multiple people, like let's say that Rook there and the Vydra team managed to jam off half the team on the other side, if he gets caught, that half team can still shoot him very, very fairly.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly Waffles was worried about the possibility of ECM having banned the Widow, the Widow being kind of a mainstay of the Vydra ECM comps, but it's something that you just have to be prepared for, and you have to be ready that someone may just decide to roll all of the correct jams into your team, which it seemed like Vydra just fully anticipated going into building this composition. Choosing something that wasn't exactly a mirror, but whose setups played at close range brawling very similarly to each other, and just being able to apply more damage as a result.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you touched on a little bit there is this idea of bringing the right jams. If you are confident in your theory crafting and confident in your band strategy and research on the other team, that you think, hey, if we do this, they're going to bring this comp that we've seen them bring before, and then you skew your jams specifically to that, and you're right, then that is a gamble, and it's paid off for you, and you'll have a much higher chance of jamming them. But if you're wrong and they bring something else, then sure, your jams will still possibly work, but the chances of them actually getting a jam off is a lot lower. And I think it's a mechanic that brings some depth to the theory crafting and picking of jams. You can't just bring a rainbow and hope for the best. You want to skew, maybe bring, say, 3 Amar against a team that you think are going to bring Amar ships, and then if they turn up in Caldari ships, then you're a bit screwed.
I think also with the jam stuff, it's not like a reason people would normally do it, but something to consider is sometimes you'll see compositions just be a single race or in a single sensor type. It kind of helps to mitigate as well the threat of jams, where it's okay, cool, they might have 3 Amar and 2 Galente and 1 Mimitar, but because we're all Amar, they're gonna have to choose where those goes. Teams don't normally build a comp with that in mind. It just ends up being a nice passive effect of these mono race comps, which you might see as well. It's also sometimes it might be a consideration for logistics to try and make sure that your logistics ship isn't an outlier, so that it always soaks up that one jam that they have for it. But like I say, it's a lot of extra mind games that happen into it. People can just slap whatever they want onto it, or if you're king of the meta and you know what's happening, the rewards pay off.
Yeah, and Vydra have proven time and time again in Alliance Tournament, in Alliance Open, they are great at theory crafting. They're great at coming up with sort of almost off-meta comps, and they're very, very good at skewing the right jams in a lot of their comps. We saw it in Alliance Open, we saw it in Alliance Tournament, and we're seeing it now in this tournament, in the Anga Games here. That Vydra, once again, as Ms. says, master of the jam.
Yes, it sounds a lot like much of this is actually happening in the draft, both skewing the jams the right race, and also making sure they have the right setup for using it with. So in this setup, the Vydra team is having a Leshek that's 35 points into one single ship. On top of that, they spend a lot of points onto that Rook, which is a Recon, which is a really expensive ship too. So they're having a lot of points into these core ships. What is the risk of doing that?
Yeah, I'm touching on this a little bit during the broadcast, but I mean, it's kind of the classic opportunity cost of, if you're putting all the points into these ships, it means that you're going to have to, not be able to apply these points to other ships that you might like. You might have to downgrade other ships elsewhere, and this is why we're seeing people are using Augur Navy issues instead of maybe, say, a heavy assault cruiser or something like a battle cruiser or command ship instead there.
So also one thing I want to mention was that the Vydra did lose to TEMPLIS, with TEMPLIS fielding an ECM setup. So there was quite an ironic situation, having this team known for ECM ending up losing against a team that brought ECM. It's actually quite a good match, so I can definitely recommend people, if they haven't watched it already, to go back and watch it. But yeah, we saw in this match Vydra dominate with the ECM setup. In the previous match, Alta had a Blackbird with ECM that didn't really do much. So we talked a little about stacking your sensor type, so it's only one type. But what are other strong counters to ECM setups?
Damage, kill them. That's I'd say range is one of your biggest advantage against ECM. Because the advantage ECM would have over you is it can jam you while staying away. But because of the tunnel effect, it's still being able to hit them. Well, you're still able to lock them. If you're able to apply damage to anywhere on the grid, like let's say you're a Cruise Raven or I don't know, a Beam Paladin or something like that, even Scorch. There normally won't be that much of a threat to you. So I'd say being able to just apply damage wherever you want with range is generally good counters, besides for the obvious things like ECCM, remote ECCM, and that sort of things.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to wrap up this talk about ECM as we go moving on to game number 55, which is in the winner bracket. Warlords of the Deep, a well-known tournament team with many tournament veterans versus Goons, which have Goondra unloaded, which has actually proven itself to be quite good. And if they win, there's a chance, even though it might be a low one, there's a chance they can meet a test alliance. This could very well be an exciting match, and let's just check out the bans. So we're having Goons banning the Curse, the Scimitar, Barghest, and Healer, and the Warlords banning Hyperion, Sarmas, Curse, and Dominix. Surak, what can you say about these bans?
Let me just make sure I'm reading the right ones this time. Okay, so interesting about the bands. I mean, look, Curse, it's to me this seems like stereotypical bands. I'm still a bit maybe interested about these bar guest bands that the teams are doing. I know Wingnut will speak about it being a control battleship able to do the defensive screens, and it's still definitely a threat being a pirate battleship, maybe even with the Torp updates. But I'm not too sure how well the bar guest is really. But hey, Goondra is where they are right now because they kind of know what they're doing. I'm not there. So that's the one interesting for me. But otherwise, I'd say rather typical bands here. The Zarm seems to be coming a lot more into the spotlight lately.
So real quick, anyone got something to add?
Yeah, just Goondra going for these very typical, please don't kite me with the Scimitar, Gila, Curse, and Barghest. Interesting that they're choosing to ban out the Scimitar, and there's no Atana ban. Not what you would normally pick, but they just don't want to get kited by Warlords. Warlords known for doing that.
I think your sound just cut out at the end. But seeing both teams are landing on a grid, and this match will be commentated by Wingnut and Dujik. So let's swap over to the arena.
Okay. G'day there, guys. Welcome to the next match, match 55. Goondra Unloaded versus Warlords of the Deep. I'm, of course, Wingnut, joined by Dujek, and there's some Stradios here again. What in the world? Dujek, talk to us about it. What's going on?
Well, this is certainly drone bonanza. We've got double EOS up against double EOS, where we have Ishtar's chosen by one team and Stradios's on the other side. However, one side has got Lordshi, and that is going to be the big decider, I think.
Potentially, yeah. I want to see how these decons survive under two flycatchers, a Vigil doing paint, and then two Ishars and two Eoses pumping out drones. If they want to kill those deacons, I'm willing to bet they'll be able to do it almost immediately.
Yeah, I do not envy the position of the deacon pilots in this match in particular.
Oh, the match is underway in 5 seconds. I want to see what drones these guys pop out. I'm curious to see if we're going to see a sentry ball again. I don't think we will. I expect it'll be a bunch of heavy drones, but I want to see. Has anyone got sentries? Yeah, there are. Big old ball of sentries.
Yeah, for Ishtar's sentry drones have a smaller damage bonus than the heavy drones, and Ishtar heavy drones are actually faster than Stradius heavy drones, so there is a bit of difference in the application here. But as we see, the sentries are applying first onto the Stradios of Quan Shoa, and he is taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, he's trying his best to survive, but you see, there's legit just a giant ball of sentries there. I feel like I'm going back in time, like 2013, 2014. This is crazy. And look at all those drone swarm coming in.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. The Praetors and Berserkers are about to hit. Let's see what they go on first.
I think they're going on to an Ishtar or potentially a Flycatcher.
Yeah, Mark Bridges and the Ishtar is being applied to here, and he's losing his shields immediately.
Now, there's one good thing about these sentries, of course. They had damage from the start of this match. These drones have only just arrived. However, they don't really have any logi, so now that these drones are there and on target, I suspect the enemy team's going to have to try and separate as much as they can and get away from these drones.
Yeah,
and Ishtar's actually micro jump driving.
Oh, wow, that is a good idea. However, you've got the Stradio.
Sorry, that is a brutal. Like, now those heavy drones have to burn across the entire arena again. Oh. That is just painful. This Stratosaur is still alive. He's now in hull. He's holding on.
I think we've actually lost Yujek here, but I'll just join you here, Wing, now that it was going off. So definitely Australia's doing a good job there of Kwang just edging it on and on.
Yeah, that Stratus is still holding on. There he goes. Pop. The Ishtar is still alive. I'm trying to see what they're putting their drones on now. They're still putting on the Ishtar. They are indeed, but the Ishtar is actually currently burning to the next MJD beacon. So I think it's going to happen again and again and again. This is just going to suck.
We do apologize to people with the technical difficulties for broadcast, but we have seen now the Deacons, they seem to be doing a good job of keeping this Deacon pair up right now, but it does seem like they're really playing with that HP right now, so one or two good hits from these drones just might smack it.
Ishtar MJDing. I wonder if he's going to go after the arena. He does. 140.
Oh, that's probably going to hurt them now.
But the Ishtar tried to MJD again, but he did it too early.
I mean, MJD is a really fantastic way to maneuver around the arena, but like that, just like one little bad play and boop, you're gone. Doesn't matter how tanky or maneuverable you are, you're off.
Yeah, well, at least they got the Ishtar finally, so they're not going to go off empty-handedly. But now they have to wait for these heavy drones to find the next target again. And you can see them all now burning back in. I don't know what they're going after just yet. And of course, we apologize that we have no camera at the moment. We will try our best to give you guys the info. One of the Deacons is being primary, but he's still being held up as well.
Yeah, so mainly for the positional stuff here is we have excuse me if I could just get the proper teammates here joining it, but we do have Goondra here just kind of just dominating the arena from the center, and with Warlords just kind of making plays around the edge of it.
Wow. I'm sorry, I gotta call this is a baller move. Kenny Dren and the EOS has gone over to that sentry ball and is smart bombing them all away. Oh, that is a beautiful move.
Oh, I hope he has a lot of smart bombs, because those are going to be some real chunky boys. I mean, it's definitely going to help. It's something you do, but I mean, they can just drop another cloud. Those aren't the only drones they're going to have. It's going to help, but he's going to be chunking at them for a long while.
I mean, yeah, you got to start doing it sooner or later, and sooner the better. I think he's actually removed a handful of them already, but on his own team, he's actually killed off one of the Flycatchers with their heavy drone set. So one of the Flycatchers, I think, just got like a lucky volley. He just got obliterated.
So just speaking on, like, if he does manage to clear these drones off in time, while they are actually able to drop new sets and it might just seem like that effective, the one advantage that is going to happen here is it means the next wave of drones that's going to be dropped from Warlords is going to be at all different positions across the arena now, and that's going to influence travel time. It's going to mean they can, hug one side of the arena and just negate the range-wise another side. So that's actually is going to help him if he's able to smart bomb these quite soon. But it looks like the other EOS is coming and
yeah, exactly.
On this.
You were mentioning one smart bomb may not be enough. Well, now you've got 2 smart bombs. Although that being said, he did just bump the other EOS out of the sentry ball.
Oh, but Dexter
Well
is
out of the
making a play here on the MJ unit, but it looks like Kenny's caught wind of this and looks like he's actually going to charge at him. Oh, Dexter's spooling. It looks like Kenny was trying to bump him, but Dexter just jumped away and still lives.
Yep, so Dexter survives in the EOS. I'm hoping that our camera client warping in doesn't cause any issues. Yep, we're good. All right, cool.
So we're still kind of seeing Warlords here playing around the edge of the arena, trying to make use of the MG units. There looks like we had Lucas Queen hugging one. Dexter's making his way back to another one with a flycatcher flying around the center of the arena. The Ishtar of Arentas also hugging MGU. They're doing a good job of just being prepared for that. We see Dexter dropping a new flight of sentries right now. So while they have managed to start clearing some out, just a new flight of sentries coming out then right away.
I like how JPOP is still doing his absolute best. I guess it's just JPOP07. He's trying to smart bomb off these drones just constantly, trying to get rid of as many as he can. But it looks like he's given up now. Is going to do something else. I suspect he now realizes that it's probably not worth sitting there the whole time killing off Ishtar drones.
Damage-wise on the teams, not much is happening. It seems like they're either waiting for Warlords to kill themselves with some MGD plays or making a mistake, but that is likely not going to happen anytime soon. So looks like Goons are settling in for a long game here, putting so much attention onto these drones. Likely going to be coming ahead on points here, although I'll have to confirm that. Not going to make any calls on that just yet.
Yeah, so that's the thing Warlords been doing this entire match. The moment those heavy drones get onto a target, they immediately MJD again, just over every time. It is just like Benny Hill chase theme going on for those drones. The moment he gets on target, they immediately move it.
Looks like we do actually have the camera going back up again. Although, okay, but I'm wondering if they're content with the position they're in right now, Goondra, or you think they're actually going to be making to catch one of these EOSs or something soon?
Honestly, I'll be pretty content where I am. I'm not sure if the point's on their side. I think it's on their side. So at this point, they just keep sitting there and smart bombing off more of these sentries and just keep removing more DPS, and that will just leave this Warlords team just kind of defanged, not able to do anything except play defensively, which they've been doing the whole time.
Like one way you could be catch these EOSs is use their own tactic against them. You could be perching a tackle ship on a jump unit and jumping right on top of them as well. The disadvantage for this, and why Goondra likely isn't trying to do anything like that, is they're making use of Frigology. So, the moment your tackle gets on top of the EOS, he's likely going to have a neut or two, some smart bombs. He's just going to neut you out and maybe drop some other drones quickly and take you out. So they don't want to spread too far away from their Frigology right now. And like you say, in a comfortable position, just going for the defang and hunkering down.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you've been seeing what the Warlords are doing. It's pretty much the only thing to do. It's like, if they're going to keep playing defensively, fine, we'll just keep removing your drones then. What are you going to do now?
It seems the EOSs have now resorted to their medium bots, waves of infiltrators flying in towards the Goondra team now, while the Goondra's drones still seem to be pursuing the flycatcher, although it seems a couple of them have finally decided to start sinking their teeth into Lucas Quan now.
Yep, they've finally arrived, but it's not really much damage. I suspect we're going to see, yep, there it is. Immediately, Lucas Quam firing off the MJD again. They're look at both of them going for the long game here. It's just, I'm curious who's going to get it. At the moment, Goondra kind of have the lead as far as I'm concerned. Because they can just remove off these sentry balls.
I think it's just as long as they don't get complacent. That's normally something that can happen in these kind of games of Frigology. Is like you get really complacent and you start feeling comfortable when you set up. As we do see the Deacon getting into low armor here.
No, don't go down, buddy. Come on, you got this.
See, this is something that can happen. Is they just think like, "Hey, I'm fine," and don't pay attention, and something like that. Oh no, that might cost them. In the last minute of the match, we're seeing quite a bit of an upset here. So let's see what happens here on points.
They're gonna go for the other Deacon immediately. Yep, fair enough. I agree with that call. They're gonna try and remove that last Deacon. If that Deacon goes down, I believe they'll be ahead on points.
We'll have to just confirm that, but Goondra's still technically ahead here 2 points, but literally if they just take anything out right now, and obviously losing his Deacon partner, it's really just going to come down to time here, I'd say, with 30 seconds left in match.
Oh my god, that Reaver at the moment is the MVP if he wins this. He's going to hold on for dear life. Notice, by the way, he's moving flying towards in the middle of that sentry ball. He's been flying through the sentry ball here. Come on, you can do it, buddy.
He did fly towards the MG unit, but obviously decided not to do first, which would have caused him a boundary. Rather just go for his own double-clicking in space, relying on his
And
own
also
skills as a
MJD
unit.
as well would bloom his sig.
Last
so
5
he's very
seconds of the
happy to do
match.
it.
Can he do it? Can
my
he do it?
God.
And ooh,
Yes!
Goondra pulls out a win by 2 points over Warlords. Caduce. Well done to Reaver for that. That was a fantastic maneuvering there at the end to make sure his team just ekes out the victory. Absolutely fantastic and stunning. And with that, we'll hand it back to the studio.
Woo!
Oh, fuck!
Oh my god. Okay, listen, I'm gonna do this one time, okay? They're only doing 1000 DPS from the... You're winning this game. Provided this stays alive. If this guy doesn't stay alive, then suddenly you lose that race. But it's not a lemon, I'm just like...
It's an 800 DPS lemon.
It's not...
Is that the one you were shooting friendlies, or...?
No, that's not the one I was shooting friendlies.
The one who was shooting friendlies is the game we won.
Should I save this? I think I should just save it.
Yeah, I think you should save it. Entitled Lemon.
I think we're gonna save it.
Lemon Theory.
Wow, what a match. Like, I am still really excited about it. Like, that last moment, this is really what I love about the tournaments, even though it's one of my favorite teams being knocked into elimination bracket. But holy, yeah, S-word. I'm not going to swear on the stream. Yeah, I don't need... We got a camera froze. One of our commentators' computer went down, and we had a match that got decided in the absolute last moment, and a team with tournament veterans being knocked out by goons in a tournament organized by goons. At least going to deny it right now. There's no collusion involved here. Even though it's a goon tournament, it's not collusion. But yeah, what a match. Moderator, you're smiling. Like, almost Elise Randolph level of smiling.
Oh man, it hurts to have this happen because a lot of the people on that roster are my friends. But I gotta say, the only reason that Frigate Logi died to begin with was because one of the goon pilots accidentally double-clicked in space away and was 30 plus kilometers off of his logistics buddy. Then, as the single logistics is being chased across the field, there was a mixture of heavy drones and medium drones that were not necessarily applying because the heavy drones were too slow to keep up. The medium drones were applying. Had there been another flight or so of mediums on there, he would have likely died with all of about 5 to 10 seconds left in the match. Ithaca?
I mean, how can you not love watching a team as storied and as good and as experienced as Warlords of the Deep getting skadunked out of the Anger Games by the Goons? I mean, that's just it's a story for a generation right there, especially as it's almost all down to 2 people. The pilot of that Ishtar who decided that being within 125 kilometers was too much of a cage for him and he had to break out. And of course, the hero Revergeist, the Deacon pilot at the end there, who just had to survive that last little bit to propel the Goons forward one level deeper into this tournament. Phenomenal. It was such a good match. I'm super excited to see Goons because there's a potential that they can go up against Test Alliance. Please ignore, depending on the result of a upcoming match. And I don't know, maybe we can get the Mitani and ProGod to just agree that whoever wins this match, if it happens, wins the war. I don't know, maybe that saves everyone a lot of time on TQ. You know, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, so one thing I want to point out is that the Deacon pilot who survived the River Geist is a fellow Eve woman, and it makes me proud to see that there are other women in this game that's kicking ass and carrying their team against one of the best teams in the game. So really big shout out to Riva Geist. I love you. But yeah, now we got that out of the system. So we're having one team with Logis, one team without Logi. In this match, we saw which one of them was strongest. But why would you go with a setup like that without Logi?
I mean, Warlords, their strategy was pretty clear. They wanted to have a drone ball of sentries all dropped in one place, and then they had their flycatchers target painting to try to apply that damage. Just summarizing some of this because we had some technical difficulties. It was initially enough to break the initial Stratios on the Goon side, which was the correct call. But then Goons, they made exactly the correct counterplay into this, which was just, we're going to defang all of these drones and we're going to smart bomb them off and clear that damage off such that it's not enough to break things. And we saw that for almost the rest of the match. Warlords was just unable to break anything until they were able to pick logistics that managed to accidentally fly away from their buddy.
Yeah, I think like when you're against sentry drones and setups with the bad application, these Logi frigates can be really hard to break. And I believe these were also tenement fitted Logi frigates. So I remember, Wingnut, you talked about these Logi frigates. You are not a fan of them. But can you tell me, what are they really good at when you have?
Exactly that, to be honest. It's just good at not being hit. That's their one key thing. If they can survive long enough, they help.
Oh, and time is flying as we are actually moving on to game number 56. It is Test Alliance versus TEMPLIS CALSF. TEMPLIS, the winner of Alliance Open, and Test Alliance, if they win, they're going to face Goon in the Winners Bracket semi-final. So this could be really exciting. But let's quickly talk about the bands.
Oh, just to go over the bans quickly, from the Test Alliance side, we got the Rook, Falcon, Curse. So they're going actually for the double T2 recon ban there, which is good. You know, generally banning one is a bad call because they can just interchange them. So banning both is the commitment to it. Then from the TEMPLIS side, we've got the Gila, Dominix, and the Slepner. So rather normal bans from there, still taking out the high threats there. But I think we'll hand it off to Ithaca and Moderator to start calling the game.
Hey guys, Ithaca Hawk here, joined by the infamous Moderator, and this is TEMPLIS CALSF versus Test Alliance. Please ignore. And Mod, this looks like two interesting setups here. What have TEMPLIS brought?
Yeah, TEMPLIS choosing to bring an Inquisitor logistic pair, pair of Ishtars, pair of Eos, and a Draugr.
Yeah, and on the other side, we have the last Spartan in his Scorpion, along with the Zarmazad, Sacrilege, double Oracles, Pontifex Flanks, and a Mauler. And the match timer is just starting, 30 seconds to go. What do you think is going to happen here, Mod?
Yeah, so we see that both teams have come in at a close, tight angle acutely. The Oracles we're going to want to, be applying that full damage. We're going to likely see the Mauler, Pontifex, and the Sacrilege rush in as they're immediately doing so. The EOS of Jean Starwinds now being the primary.
Yeah, I mean, the EOSs aren't exactly burning away either. They look like they're burning in as well. So this could be over very quickly as both teams just basically brawling in on each other. Mirachieve and the Oracle on the TEMPLIS team is the one taking most of the damage right now as he's getting chunked in through his armor. Meanwhile, it's Jean Starwinds and the EOS on the test side, both going down roughly equally, but losing an EOS is way more important than losing an Oracle right now.
Yeah, to be sure, we're seeing that Mirachieve had just a cloud of drones on top of him that stopped moving, but they're now being reapplied. Meanwhile, Jean Starwinds, not exactly stabilizing, getting chunked still. The Sacrilege, the Mauler on top of him, getting chunked by the Oracles, and it will go down.
Yeah, Oracles, of course, just absolutely vomit out DPS, but they're not exactly known to be tanky ships. So, that Oracle there of Mira just doing the god's work and staying alive with Sylphie and the Zarm, those reps spooling up on him, keeping him alive despite all the DPS coming in. And, I mean, this match looks like it might be, maybe that's too early, but it might be over already for Test here, especially if they lose the second EOS.
Yeah, Test has moved off of that. Off of Mira in his Oracle. They're now trying to send the drones across to the Zarmzad, but there's not going to be a lot more drones to send with the EOS going down on that side. The core of that logistics, just running away, Safoy, burning across the arena, outside of rep range of any of his teammates, but the Praetors from Test just now coming across the board, but it's too little too late. We see the Draugr already down into low armor, just getting absolutely chunked.
Yeah, it looks like the DPS coming from Tess is, there's no other word for it, is anemic at this point. I don't know if perhaps these are Haven Ishtars that they brought by mistake out of whatever it is they live now. I think it's Delve, but it is just not putting enough damage out to kill this team right now.
Yeah, we initially saw that for whatever reason, the drones going onto Mira were stalling. And then once Mira stabilized, heavy drones were chasing after Zarmaz. And that just really doesn't work. You're not going to apply that damage unless the Zarm is tackled. Speaking of things that are tackled, Soldaris' Ishtar being held down by the Pontifex, now going down to that EM damage from Samar team.
Yeah, it really is just cleanup time now for TEMPLIS CALSF here. It's just been pointed out to me by CCP Swift that TEMPLIS haven't lost a single ship all tournament thus far. And if you remember, in Alliance Open, they went through the entire tournament without losing a single match. I think they maybe lost a couple of ships, but they didn't lose a single match, and they never fielded their wild card. They've been just unstoppable in tournaments in the last year or so, and they are proving once again that they are perhaps the number one team in New Eden right now, especially with Warlords going out and Vydra in the losers bracket. So I would say TEMPLIS for sure. The Alliance Open and now this are really cementing their legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing TEMPLIS years ago in Even T Opens, and then being kind of considered to be not a bad team, but they weren't one of the top flight rosters, and it's been rather impressive to see the development of this team just becoming an absolute world beater, being put in, in that list of teams like Warlords, like Volta, and Vydra, as they're, like you said, just cleanly sweeping, and now having this Inquisitor be run down by the Pontifex of Killa here, just finishing off this Inquisitor. Good fights in local here.
Yeah, good fights being spread out by all. It looks like a promise from the TEMPLIS team to deal with Goons on behalf of Test. So alliances are being formed as Danar in that Inquisitor just clings on and then explodes. So there you have it. TEMPLIS CALSF still not losing a single ship in this tournament. Yeah, number one team in New Eden. Let's hand it back to the studio.
That's what I'm talking about, guys. We've made a great effort so far. Let's just keep it up.
That's right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure! We've come too far! There's too much to lose! We've got to just keep our composure!
Welcome back to the studio. This was TEMPLIS CALSF showing the world that they are definitely going for that #1 spot. They're taking out Test in a convincing victory. They're going straight for the gold medal. So I must say I'm quite impressed with their performance, and I believe CCP Swift mentioned that they haven't lost a single ship in this tournament. That is a really impressive feat, I must say. So, any thoughts about this match?
I just thought it showed how dominant TEMPLIS are. We talked briefly about it during the match, but they've been just super successful, super disciplined team. They've got some great theory crafters, amazing pilots, and they're just going from strength to strength. For years it was almost a bit of a meme, like, hey, the Caldari role players are back, and hey, they happen to have knocked out Warlords this year, and oh look, they're doing well this year, well done them. But they're no longer just the Caldari role player team. They're one of the top teams in the game, and I suspect in any future tournaments that they enter, they're going to do just as well for a good few years if they keep this up.
Yeah, TEMPLIS definitely looking like they're the team to beat right now. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think they've ever just outright won a major event, and this would be kind of a crowning achievement.
Won the Alliance Open last year, and they did it in fine form. They didn't drop a single match, even in the best of 3s and the best of 5 finals. They went up against, I think, Warlords in the final, and just 3-0'd them straight. 1, 2, 3, bang. Or wild card, which was a special rule we had in the Alliance Open, where you could bring essentially like a flagship unique, and they didn't even use it at all. Didn't need it. Just absolutely just rolled through the tournament and destroyed everyone.
Well, that must have happened while I was on a temporary break for about a year. But nope, now that I'm back, I'm glad to be proven wrong and seeing that TEMPLIS is in fact winning majors one after another.
I think also with these matches we've been seeing from TEMPLIS, especially with how they've been dominating their opponents, it can sometimes be a bit of a, I don't want to say boring match to watch, especially with a lot of cleanup happening. But what I do appreciate what TEMPLIS brings to this is it allows people to actually appreciate the theory side of things, to show, what it actually takes to be such a top tier team, to have this absolutely superiority once you get on the grid. One of the things interesting that not a lot of teams would have considered was that Scorpion. I think TEMPLIS did also bring in the Widow versus, I can't remember who, Sun and Vydra.
Vydra, yeah.
Yeah, so making use of those ECM battleships, or these, I wouldn't say subpar picks, but actually making use of rather surprise picks and putting them to great effect as well. Not just relying on the surprise factor, but actually relying on overall tactics to deliver that killing punch with the surprise.
So we're talking a lot about the TEMPLIS, but one thing I noticed was that the test team was almost like the Goon setup from the previous match. Just instead of having Stratias, they had Ishtars, and in return they're downgrading their Logi to Tech 1. So I could almost start to suspect if there's some collusion between these two teams, or it's just a setup that may be really strong. But clearly TEMPLIS are showing that there's stronger setups around.
Tech 1 Logi have 50%. Well, actually, Tech 2 Lodge have 50% higher ECM resistance than the Tech 1, so that's going to be a bad matchup into Scorpion when you have only 2/3 of the chance of not getting jammed out.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier today with the ECM against drone setups. In this situation, it looks like TEMPLIS really pulled it off. So what were the good targets for TEMPLIS to jam? If you are the one sitting in the Scorpion, who would you jam?
Well, if they bring Tech 1 Logi frigates, that seems like a pretty obvious choice to me. They had a lot of jams on them in that match.
Yeah, most definitely. So I believe we are going to take a short break as we need our teams to get ready for the next matchups. So after the break, we are having Warlords of the Deep versus Sudden Vydra. It is in the elimination bracket, so the loser will be knocked out of the tournament. And this is two teams that have been facing each other in the finals in the previous two ATs. So this could be a really exciting match. And aside from that, you're having game number 58, which is Test Alliance Please Ignore versus AP Stole My Fit. Also elimination bracket matchup. So, heading on a short break, and we'll be right back with more exciting tournament PvP.
15 seconds to make a cool AT ad. It's got to have dank content, overused MLG man, and MLG Daniel Wait. No profanity. How am I supposed to make an AT ad without saying fuck?
What is the best Indian wormhole corp? That's Biotech LD.
Ah, you're teasing me, naughty not.
Bold is actually not an Indian corporation. Bold is actually not a wormhole corporation. Bold is recruiting. No ego PvP.
Introducing Grath Telkin, your personal assistant from Pandemic Legion.
Hey Grath, I'm 15 jumps out. Can I still get in on the fleet?
How the f are you 15 jumps away? Why would you be 15 jumps away from where the f we are?
He can't do anything. This wildcard Atana jammed by a single Griffin. This is the brave story right here, right now.
I'll have a, no. Oh, maybe, no. I'll have, no. Oh, maybe.
Are you planning on a day, sir?
I'll have a
bar guest. How original.
And with
extra paladin. Daring today, aren't we?
We've all had trouble. Multi-spectrum's not as hard as they used to be. The little blue pill, so you can last all fight long.
Slaves, get your ass back here!
the Nidhogger. Let's get him. Point, point, point. Let's get him. Let's fucking get him, guys. Fucking cut and find, boys. Let's get him. Yes. Yes. Let's go, boys. Fly like you stole it.
That's what I'm talking about, guys. We've made a great effort so far. Let's just keep it up.
That's right! We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure! We've come too far! There's too much to lose! We've got to just keep our composure!
On a silver platter if this goes down. He can't do anything. This wildcard Atana jammed by a single Griffin. This is the Brave story right here, right now.
Oh, I'll have a, no. Oh, maybe, no. I'll have, no. Oh, maybe.
Are you planning on a day, sir?
I'll have a
bar guest. How original.
And with
extra paladin. Daring today, aren't we?
We've all had trouble. Multi-spectrum's not as hard as they used to be. The little blue pill, so you can last all fight long.
Slaves, get your ass back here!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Anger Games Rebirth. This is the 5th day of the tournament and already had 4 great matches where we had to say goodbye to, I believe it's 2 teams, yeah. So we're down to 6 teams and at the end of the day we'll be down to only 3 teams. So those 4 matches were already exciting. Do you guys have a favorite moment?
I mean, it has to be the Goon upset of Warlords of the Deep. So far, that's a highlight. Just because it's unexpected. Everybody loves the underdog. No one more so than me. I absolutely love to see an underdog team win. So yeah, fantastic moment so far in the tournament for me.
Yeah, that was not only the only upset we had. Also had the AP Stormer Fit versus Volta.
It's not really an upset though. Volta are trash. So
officially from Ithaca Hawk, Volta being trash. No, but in all seriousness, we've had an excellent set of matches. So far, we've had to say goodbye to both Waffles and Volta. I don't necessarily think anyone would have expected Volta to go out as early as they did, but top 8 is still respectable. Speaking of matches that we're going to have next, we're going to have Warlords of the Deep and Sudden Vydra, former practice partners now in an elimination match in the losers round, guys.
Yeah, this would be another nail biter. These are 2 teams that have a lot of experience together. They know how each other work. They've been practicing a lot together, both for this and for previous tournaments. So they're inside each other's minds, and they're both really good with these draft plays. So what do you guys think we're going to see?
Well, I think it's let's first talk about what we're not going to see here. So the bans coming in from Warlords of the Deep have been the Blackbird, Curse, and the Zarm, and then from Sudden Vydra we're getting a Paladin, Dominix, and Scimitar. So I think the one that's going to stand out to a lot of people here is going to be the Paladin. We haven't actually seen Marauders fielded that much. So going on what was said earlier with them being practice partners, this definitely hints towards something they would have seen in their scrims together, some kind of secret Paladin tech happening here.
Yeah, and likewise, Warlords are choosing to ban out Blackbird. Again, that's pretty common to see ECM bans against Vydra. Just a thing that you have to be prepared for.
Yeah, and as you got a little bit in on Surag, with the Paladin, it's not something we've seen that much before, and but with these 2 teams knowing, practicing against each other, so it could very well be that the Paladin is there's a setup for Warlords that has a Paladin, and now Vydra don't want to face that setup, so they're banning it, even though we really don't know what kind of setup it is.
Yeah, so interesting for the points wise is we have Paladins, or Marauders more accurately, priced at 32 points. Rather expensive. Teams can only make up the roster of 100 points. So that's already taking just under a third out of your points chunk here. But for 3 points extra, at 35 points, you can get a Leshek. And we've seen earlier today how the Leshek was put to great use. So I think that's also a lot of what teams considering is when you're making that huge top-heavy investment, something like a Marauder, you start making sacrifices elsewhere. With the Leshek, it's, you can more reliably rely on your top end, with the Leshek just having a huge amount of DPS and utility coming in. The Paladins or the Marauders do still offer utility with their spare highs, only needing half the amount of hard points to deliver the same amount of damage. So that is an advantage to them, but it might mean you're going to have to make some sacrifices on DPS, whereas you don't generally need to do that for Leshek.
So you mentioned the Leshek, and I know that both teams have fielded the Leshek, and we are not seeing the Leshek banned. Are we going to see Lesheks?
I think think we did see a Shack banned last weekend. I can stand corrected on that, but it's hard to say in these things. I think we've been seeing a lot of Triglavian always mixed in as some effect. The Nurgle seems to be extremely popular. Destroyers haven't featured that much, although we did see, I think it was either Jorger or Kiki earlier. But the Shacks have actually been rather effective in the matches showed up. I think the only time it really fizzled is when we saw the pair of the Shack and a Balgorn together, which didn't end that great for them. I can't remember exactly who that was, but it seems more of the Shack is a threat according to who flies it, not which comp it's in, if that makes more sense.
I mean, they're both teams that have used the Leshek in the tournament, so they might be using it again.
I mean, I feel like the Leshak in the Alliance Open, it was almost borderline. Some ships that you either ban them or you bring them. If you don't bring them, then you ban them because you don't want to face them, and if you don't ban them, then you bring them because that's why you didn't ban them. The Leshak is close to that level of power, and the fact that both teams haven't banned it, I mean, perhaps we see Leshak versus Leshak here. It could be very interesting. But, I mean, as mentioned, these two teams are practice partners. They know a lot about how each other think. So we could see both teams trying to bring something maybe a little bit off the wall to counter something that they know the other team likes to bring. And then you get that sort of, can you meta yourself out of the match level of counter think going on. So there's two ways of doing it. One, you try and out meta them, and two, you just bring what you know you're good at and you try and win with it. So we'll see very shortly when the teams land on grid what they're bringing. But either way, this should be a fantastic match. Some of the best pilots in the game going up against each other here.
Yeah, and we're seeing the teams land on grid right now, so we are soon ready to swap to the arena. The match will be commentated by Ifika Hawk and moderator in what could be a really exciting match. So let's swap to the arena.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Anger Games Rebirth. I'm with Hawk, joined of course by moderator, and we have a heck of a match for you right here. This one should be a doozy. It is Warlords of the Deep versus Vydra Reloaded, or rather suddenly Vydra. This is two Alliance tournament winning teams going up against each other, Mod. And what do you see here? What have these teams brought?
Yeah, see, we've seen that the Warlord side is choosing to have a Hyperion battleship core with support in the Arbitrator, Vengeance, Nurgle, and a Pontifex.
Yeah, it looks like Vydra bringing a single hype with the Aneros, and then choosing to bring that Rook, going for those jams that they love so much, and then the Oracle and Og Navy to fill out the damage with Pontifex and Nurgle. Immediately we see them burning away. It looks like the Pontifex burning back towards these logistics as Faith Evangod in the Warlords team takes the first strike from the Vydra team. Shields are gone immediately, but both teams at the moment, they're just positioning. Pot shots are being taken. That's probably Pandy in the Oracle that's hit him there. But at the moment, no one is committing yet. They're just dancing around.
Yeah, both teams are choosing to jockey for position. Originally, the Nurgle on the Vydra side had streamed across the field and thought better of it before he got too close to that pair of Hyperions. Both of these Hyperions are sticking very close to each other, making the conscious decision that they're going to wolf pack that out together and try to be applying both of their blaster damage on top of the same target.
So it looks like Vydra are choosing to be aggressive here. They're burning in the Og Navy issue of Head. Candir is burning straight towards the Warlords team. This, I mean, watch this match, ladies and gentlemen. If you're interested in playing in tournaments, these people are some of the best pilots. You will see them. They'll come in. They'll dive back when they get hit. You will see them reposition. This is a good example of what to watch for. And that Og Navy is just extending forward, trying to get tackle on his on the probably the Hyperion or maybe the Aneros of the other side right there. But he is quite extended now.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are kind of extending, the Warlords team is choosing to ball up on a tournament beacon. We can see that the Rook might just barely be in range of that should the Warlords team spool on to him. The Rook staying in the back, just having light bots applied to him. So far, the Augur Navy issue really kind of extending furthest out for the Vydra team, and it looks like the Warlords roster is going to choose to send their Hyperions on top of him and apply that damage.
It looked like he was caught by Amelia Dustspace in that Vengeance, and I mean, a Vengeance is one of the hardest tackle ships to get away from in a tournament scenario here. The Og Navy, of course, very tanky ship, unless you're the Metanin, you've hit it with polarized pulse lasers, but doesn't look like Head Candir is that ballsy, as he is tanking well with Randolph Sykes in the nearest, just sitting pretty in the middle of the arena, staying in optimal range. Thuvia getting pretty heavily chunked there in that Hyperion, but the reps of Lucas Kwan keeping him alive, no problem. At the moment, it's still fairly back and forward, but Head Candir in that Og Navy is starting to struggle.
Yeah, and we're going to see whether or not he continues to struggle. Largely is going to be dependent on whether or not these Hyperions get jammed out. We're seeing jam effects streaming across the field from that Rook onto the Hyperion and the Arbitrator. The Arbitrator has been applying his tracking disruption to that Oracle, trying to force the Oracle in. And we can see that that Oracle is now closing the gap, possibly trying to apply that Conflag to break Thuvia.
Yeah, at the moment it is just back and forward. Jams land, jams unland. Thuvia is surviving. Lucas Kwan is just sitting pretty at the backfield. He's not pressured right now. If he can keep Thuvia alive through the incoming damage, then they're good. It looks like a target swap there onto Pandy in the Oracle. He just got hit hard. So now you're going to have to see Randolph Sykes going to have to reposition, get on top, get his reps into optimal range of Pandy before he goes down. But Pandy is getting chunked. No reps landing right now. They have to spool their armor reps. They land at the end of the cycle. Reps are landing. Is it going to be too late? Pandy dropping a little bit in the hull.
I think it's going to be too little too late, and he will pop Faith Evangood. The tackle wing of the Warlord side doing excellent job, and we saw that a large cloud of those Vydra rep drones had been popped. So excellent recognition from the Warlord side, realizing that they weren't doing enough damage without the Vydra Nurgle now down into low armor, just barely trying to stabilize, but not enough rep drones on the field to keep him alive. And the Zarm, the Oneros rather, just not having enough rep power to sustain this. I think we're going to see Warlords just continue to snowball this.
I think so. It looked like what happened was Randolph Sykes maybe just got too focused on keeping Head Candir alive in that Og Navy, and the Warlords team just sort of narrowed in on that. They all decycled at the same time. They probably did a 3-2-1, and they all engaged on that Oracle. Oracle's, of course, not known for being particularly tanky, and they just, the Vydra team just couldn't respond quick enough. They couldn't swap the reps over. There's probably rep bots moving as that Oracle went down, but they just could not execute that maneuver fast enough. So great target swap there by Warlords of the Deep. Probably what's going to help them snowball to victory here. Pontifex of Makiata going down now as well, and I don't see the Vydra team breaking anything right now on the Warlords side. What about you, Mod?
Yeah, no, there's really no path to victory for the Vydra side at this point. A Hyperion and a single Augur Navy issue does not really supply enough damage to really do too much. Just really excellent snap count from the Warlords team. I'm going to have to go back and watch the VOD on this. It may be the case that the Hyperion from one of the Vydra team members managed to kill their own rep bots that were on top of the Augur Navy issue, and then the Oracle. Right now, Head Condor being reprimaried now and is going down.
Yeah, now, so Head Condor, he extended pretty far forward, and it didn't look like he actually accomplished anything except getting caught himself by Amelia Dustspace in the Vengeance, which then, of course, set up that whole sequence of events leading to the demise of that Oracle. Do you think that maybe Vydra played a little bit too aggressive there? Do you think maybe they caught a couple of jams and thought this is the time, but they maybe should have been a little bit more conservative? What do you think?
I mean, when you have essentially a Nurgle and a Navy Augurer. I mean, you can accept that that's going to be one of the ships that you use as primary tackle. The Navy Augurer are known for having a pretty massive buffer. Things that are not having massive buffers anymore, though, are that Hyperion of Cruise on Dax on the Vydra team, now in Hull.
Yeah, so it does look like there's about 3 minutes left in the match to go. I say Warlords comfortably going to take this match now 100-0 as Curzon Dax in the Hyperion just holding on a little bit. A little token rep to the last one a little bit longer, but he goes down as well. Randolph Sykes will not be able to kill anything because he's a rep bolt, and a Rook it does some damage, but let's be honest here, it's not going to do anything either. So this match is fully over for Warlords of the Deep. GFs appearing in local from both teams right now. This is two very experienced teams, practice partners, good friends. So very, very nice to see them playing against each other in such an exciting match where it's all to play for. This was an elimination match. So that is Vydra out of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, just we see that both sides played this rather well. And Warlords played it better, and they were prepared for the Rook that the Vydra team brought, and they, on the Warlord side, ended up bringing more damage, and they were able to break Vydra faster. Once they did so, they snowballed. More on that now as we send it back to the commentary desk.
They're just wondering about
Point! Guys, get the Nidhogger! Let's get him! Point, let's get him! Let's fucking get him, guys! Fucking cut and find, boys! Let's get him! Yes! Yes! Let's go, boys! Fly like you stole it!
Hello everyone and welcome back to the studio. This was Warlords of the Deep taking the victory from Southern Vydra, two teams that knows each other really well and have fought each other in the finals in the Alliance tournament. And what a match. Like it might have ended up with like 100-0, but it was a great brawl at the beginning. Surak, can you tell me about this brawl? What happened?
I think, okay, obviously it's going to be a bit of a guessing game. You know, we don't not too sure exactly what happens with the teams, but you know, we were talking a lot about the shack before. Excuse me, the teams went in, and I'm wondering if the choice of the arbitrator on the one side and the Rook on the other was maybe to address the potential of, you know, what we were talking about with the shack showing up. You know, the one team Warlords choosing to go for the arbitrator to have the tracking disruptors. You know, knock out the trigger spool up weapons, and Vydra choosing for the Rook to also just be oppressive in their own sort of way. So that was an interesting choice for me. I think it was the first time we might have seen an arbitrator, but I don't want to get too caught up on the shack though. Otherwise, I think a good play that we saw there was the tracking disruptors that were being applied to the Oracle constantly throughout the match. He maybe could have put them on some Orgs or the other Hyperion, but it might have been a bit of a waste there. But you can actually see there that the Oracle actually got forced into range from those tracking disruptors, and the moment he burned into range, actually he literally just burned straight to the Hyperions. They saw it, switched over, and popped them. So quite effective use of the arbitrator there by Warlords.
Yeah, when I was looking at the match, it did look like the Vydra team were overextending first with the Ogre Navy issue and then later with the Oracle. And this could be what cost them the match, but it was still like a really good brawl, I think. It was ships applying a lot of DPS, and we could see them just slowly breaking and seeing who broke first. And then, unfortunately, when the Oracle got in close, he got broken really quickly. So, we're talking about that arbitrator, Ithaca. What kind of arbitrator offer for a team? It costs the same as a Blackbird.
So an arbitrator, it's kind of like a baby curse. It's not as good, especially when it comes to newts. It's terrible with newts, but it can do your tracking and guidance disruption. And in a control match where you think perhaps that they're going to bring something either similar to you or with range control that might exceed yours, you can use that range disruption provided by a ship like an arbitrator to force those ships to come closer to you to apply damage, or to miss you at extreme ranges, allowing you to apply damage at a range that they can no longer hit you at. It's a control ship choice. That's why you would pick it. You probably find that you would load the drone bay with rep bots as well and just stick it in your back line, use it for utility, use it for rep bots, and that's probably it. But it basically, High Point says it right in Twitch chat. It removes a turret-based spaceship from the match. That's why you pick an arbitrator.
I think one thing I want to talk about is beginning of the matchup, we saw the team's positioning there. So with Warlords retreated back towards an MJU unit there, and Vydra were kind of, a bit of a standoffish until we eventually saw the Orc Navy charge in. And one possibility that I think was happening here is that Southern Vydra saw that Warlords was setting up possibly for an MGU play with their Hyperions, and what they were maybe looking at, and while we saw that charge from the Org, is they were maybe looking to scram and catch someone that was left behind, isolate someone and get a pick off. But them presenting that Org in the front with that risk as well prevented Warlords from, considering that option. And then, hey, Org Navy's just presenting himself to you that the Hypes charge in. So it could also have been a bait kind of setup, Warlords intentionally knowing that, hey, if we retreat over here, Vydra might think we're going to go for the MG play and they're going to present some tackle towards us, which we can try pick off. So a lot of mind games can also just go into the actual positional play that these teams put in, not just only in the bans and the practice, but where you actually put yourself on grid has a lot of impact.
Yeah, we saw at the start of that match, so much positioning from both teams, and you see this a lot in experienced teams. They will sort of skirt around, they will wait for the right opening, like the jams to line up or something to go just a little bit right, and then they will rush in, versus maybe less experienced teams who rush in a little bit early. As soon as the match starts, they're already overheating and they're burning straight in, and then they get screened off. Both these teams were experienced enough to avoid those easy pitfalls, and yeah, it was an exciting little bit of a chess match really at the start of that one, to see who would commit first. And as it happened, it was Vydra, and it didn't go so well for them.
So I'm going to wrap it up now because the teams for the next match are coming into the system. It's game number 58, Test Alliance versus AP Stole My Fit. And Test Alliance have banned Rattlesnake, Oracle, Absolution, and Sarmast. And AP Stole My Fit has banned also a Rattlesnake, a Navy Megaphron, a Curse, and an Ishtar. So what do you guys think about these bans?
I mean, the ban of the Ishtar from AP Stole My Fit along with the Rattlesnake sort of says we don't want to see drone boats, which, considering how well their last Test Alliance comp was dismantled when they brought drones, it's a surprising ban, to be honest. But Test choosing also to ban the Rattlesnake, the Oracle, the Absolute, and the Zarm. That looks like they don't want to see range stuff and mobile armor. So this could be interesting. Zoo, what do you think?
The Absolution, well, I suppose you could say the Absolute and the Navy Mega stands out. Not because they're bad bands, just because we haven't seen them before. We haven't seen the Absolution earlier today as well, although it wasn't that effective in my opinion. Absolution, I would almost say, either needs to be clustered with your team, so you all need to stay back and have all long range together, or it needs to be in there with your team. So it needs to be where the team is, due to it doesn't have the range bonus to links anymore. But I could say their bonus bands are definitely reactive to the meta here. The Zarm and the Ishtar have been having a really strong presence throughout the evening and the previous weekends as well. But I can almost agree with every band here. Just the Abs and the Navy Mega, maybe a bit something I wouldn't have gone for personally, but you can't fault them on any of the bans that they've done right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw on camera there, but I just saw both teams warp in and land, and you might have seen my eyebrows raise as some interesting ship choices by both teams here. But I'll leave that for when we transition to the arena, which I believe will be very soon. We just wait for Miz to give us permission to do so.
Yeah, and I was just waiting for you to stop talking so I could give you permission. As both teams land on the arena, and the next match will be commentated by Surak and Ifika Hawk. So let's hop into the arena and see what made Ifika's eyebrows lift.
Hey guys, Ithaca Hawk here. Looks like I think the zoo might have dropped off.
I am back with us.
He is back with us. Fantastic. Well, let's have a look at these interesting ship choices by these teams here. As AP Stole My Fit bringing double Tempest, double Naga, double Ogre and Aviation, and a Nurgle. That is quite a comp. All warped in right in the center of the arena, ready to brawl. Meanwhile, it looks like Test bringing in an Etana, double Sleipnir, Gila, Stormbringer, Stiletto, and Skybreaker. What the hell is going on here, Zoo?
Oh, I think it's quite amazing, especially those Nagas coming in 0. I was wondering if they were blaster fit, but they are actually rail fit. So I think what they're just trying to capitalize, is if a team comes in long range, like we're seeing is happening here, they can still apply to them right off the bat. So I'm wondering if we're going to see that Etana just evaporate here. Or no, they go on to the Sleipnir of Gene.
Yeah, this is just an all-in damage rush comp here by AP Stole My Fit. This is the comp of a team that did not expect to still be in the tournament this late and doesn't know what to do, I think, at this point. They sent the Nurgle in to tackle some stuff. It looks like Gene Starwinds and that Sleipnir is tackled, and then he's going to have autocannon Tempest, I imagine, and some Nagas just raining hellfire down on him as fast as they possibly can.
Yeah, these Templists are definitely going to do some work. Having the utility highs for newts, trying to knock out prop mods and hardeners and all that. And also being projectile weapons, they have a bit more options in what damage type they're going to be applying. While the Nagas will be restricted to kinetic thermal, the Templists can generally have quite a decent selection. Not as much as missiles, but they can definitely hit this Sleipnir in its weak spots, which is why we're seeing it getting to hull now.
Yeah, that Tana there kept that Sleipnir alive for so long that it really... I mean, I thought it was going to die about 15-20 seconds ago. That's 15-20 seconds that Naga has been dying. So now it's back to even. They've lost a Naga for a Sleipnir. Losing Lynx is not good, of course, for the test team, but they're shooting into a team that doesn't bring any Lynx in the first place, so maybe it's not as bad as a trade. So we'll see now who AP Stole My Fit choose to primary, and it's probably the other Sleipnir of Dinar. The Nurgle of KitKat, he is just declined to die. He's still alive somehow. I don't know what happened. I think he just burned away, and Test forgot about him. No longer in their sphere of influence, so didn't want to shoot him. As I say that, of course, some damage trickling back onto him from some drones as Grunt Kado in the Naga goes down pretty quickly.
Interesting here that there's a little bunch of Reptrons chasing the Stiletto around on the test side while there's Sleipnir. It actually should be needing them right now, although it could be the Sleps drones as well. But yeah, the Naga, they just kind of like closed their jaws around him, sunk their teeth in, and just got him off the field. So the attack battle cruisers getting removed is definitely a good choice, but they still have to contend with these chunky battleships. So it's going to be a race here. If they can maybe take down this one Tempest before the Sleipnir goes down, they'll be in a good position. But the way it's looking right now, that is not going to happen.
Ooh, that Sleipnir just got giga chunked right there on my screen. He went from almost full to almost half hull in one hit. He's going to go down as well. So now the test team, they've really only got a Gila, Gila for damage and a Stormbringer, if that counts, which I'm not entirely convinced it does, against 2 Tempests and 2 Og Navies. I mean, I guess AP, just ignore that Etana. Why bother when you've got so much DPS, and try and kill that Gila, and then I don't know, cancel Darius then in a Stormbringer, solo these ships? I don't think so. But like, wow.
I think what we're seeing happening here is these Tempests are just being given free reign to run across the arena for whatever they want. What I would have expected to see from the Stormbringer has actually quite a large bonus. It actually has a 6% bonus to shield resistances per level. That's one of the largest shield resistance bonuses you'll see on a ship of that status. And it also has quite a lot of mids to dedicate towards tank or tackle. So it can be quite an effective screening ship, but they're not screening these Tempests.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting comp from the test guys, especially that Stormbringer. That says to me that they were expecting to face a drone comp, I think, and they wanted to just do the zappy zap on the drones and maybe try and defang them really quickly. I can't think of any other reason why you bring a Stormbringer. It's not as useful as the Skybreaker in terms of being a little heavy tackle ship. The Etana going down now probably does more DPS than a Stormbringer, to be honest, so not a bad primary. But this looks like AP Stole My Fit has pulled another one out of the bag with Tempests and Nagas.
The Tempest definitely been a wonderful change for the evening as well for the whole tournament. Orc Navy's once again having a very strong presence in the match. Obviously, them they're going to not going for them, rather go for the Tempest. But I think this Tempest with 2 Edencom ships and a Stiletto left on field, not much they're going to be able to do to get these battleships off. So it's more just going to be a game of cat and mouse here to get these little ships, or maybe we're just going to see some boundary suicides to have a faster cleanup phase here.
Yeah, I mean the Skybreaker seems to be burning away, but I don't think he's burning for the boundary. So this could just be a slow burn now as some Tempests try and shoot at some things they can't really track from range or catch. I mean, the Ogre Navies might catch up. Damasus Kadesh there in one of the Ogre Navies. I believe he's the team captain. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he is. He's been in tournaments for a while now. I think he's originally one of the Amar Championship holders for one of the houses. He did quite well in that, and then went on to be in a number of teams, usually Amar themed. This time, of course, they've done quite well, and they've got quite far into this tournament. And getting to this stage and then bringing 2 Tempests, 2 Nagas, and 2 Og Navies, well, that's pretty ballsy, I think.
The one thing that's still standing out to me, and it's almost, we've seen it happen now with them running around with these Edencom ships that are finally going down there, but I'm still quite surprised how passive almost they were playing against AP Stole My Fit. They were letting AP Stole My Fit almost choose the targets that they wanted to run down instead of going like, here's a hardy target for you, eat on this for a while we do our stuff. But with that, AP Stole My Fit clean up the game here now with a convincing Tempest win, and we'll hand it back to the studio.
Oh, fuck!
Oh my god. Okay, listen, I'm gonna do this one time, okay? They're only doing 1000 DPS from the... You're winning this game. Provided this stays alive. If this guy doesn't stay alive, then suddenly you lose that race. But it's not a lemon, I'm just like him.
It's an 800 DPS lemon.
It's not
that the one you were shooting friendlies, or...?
No, that's not the one I was shooting friendlies.
The one who was shooting friendlies is the game we won.
Should I save this? I think I should just save it.
Yeah, I think you should save it. Entitled Lemon.
I think we're gonna save it.
Lemon Theory.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the studio. This was AP Stole My Fit eliminating Test Alliance, please ignore. And what an explosive match we're having. So many ships being traded right at the beginning, and then just looked like AP still not fit managed to get the advantage towards the end. Surag, can you tell me a bit more about this match?
Well, it was quite a promising show there with the Nagas also showing up there in the beginning. That was very interesting to see. The Nagas you could see also definitely retreated there at the beginning. The thing there was with them coming in at 0. So you normally would have think with a Naga having, I believe Naga does have a bonus to optimal range. I could be mistaken on this. But railguns anyway generally have a long range, and it's the battleship weapons it's using. So coming at 0 could be a bit of a controversial choice. But the reason they would have done something like that is they want to make sure that even if their opponent warps in at 50 kilometers, they'll be able to apply damage right off the bat. Now, I thought they would have gone for the Etana, being in range of him and having that DPS, but obviously the Tempest were set up for close range, and they kind of just were sinking their teeth into the Sleipnirs. I went on it a bit in the match, but I'm still a bit surprised how Test was making use of their support ships. We haven't really seen the Edencom ships shown that much. They were at a massive discount in the lines open. Skybreaker being a 1 point at that stage and being a fantastic tackle ship, even in armor comps, due to the massive amount of mid slots it has, and also being very, very fast, actually. And the same applies for its bigger brother, the Stormbringer, the cruiser size variant. But what we saw happening in that match is Test was playing really passively or laid back with them. They never really committed anything, and these Tempests were just going from one target to the next, and it was really fun to watch, but still a bit of disappointment, I think, on the support choices by Test.
I think I figured out AP Stole My Fit. They just want to win with every battleship. They've played the Hyperion, they've played the Raven, they've played the APOC, and now the Tempest. They're just going for the full collection.
Yeah, I would say the Tempest was a bit of an odd choice, but it did turn out well for them. They were even shield Tempest, so they didn't have much utility, but they did have a lot of damage, and these neutralizers, as the commentators spoke about.
So I think with the battleship choice is interesting, but what we're going to be seeing happening later today as well is the last game that we'll be having will be Warlords of the Deep versus AP Stole My Fit. So I'm interested to see if AP Stole My Fit's going to kind of bring that same mentality before. They seem to be making quite a lot use of these attack battle cruisers with the battleships mixed in. And they've been quite good at interchanging their pieces. So they have a kind of style set down, and they're not getting locked out by bans. It's almost as if they kind of don't care what you ban against them at this stage. So that's also a good show of a team. Although you just have to be flexible on your style a bit, but having those choices when it comes to these comps and being able to execute your plan regardless of which actual ship it is a really great show on their side. So I really have to hand it off to AP Stole My Fit for the execution they've been showing these matches.
I would imagine that if they have zeroed in on a comp that they're so familiar with flying, that they would definitely have just set up a firing range in practice, and basically they know what to kill because they've fired this comp at an Etana and they've fired this comp at a Sleipnir, and they know which is going to die and how fast it's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Like the experience that comes from flying a comp consistently allows you to know what your target priority should be. We saw it happen a lot in the first weekend, where teams seem to just lose due to bad target priority. You know, they weren't shooting the Logi when they should have. They were wasting time on a Punisher. They were going for this. So when you have someone maybe like AP Stole My Fit who's been playing a comp consistently and has consistent practice, that consistency, translates into consistent wins. And just like Jujek says here, knowing what you can shoot and when to shoot.
I wouldn't be surprised if this comp, for instance, could shoot into an Etana had the Oracle been picked instead of the Naga. But a Naga does not want to shoot into an Etana with its incredibly high kinetic and thermal resistances, and they go for a Sleipnir instead. So when you have all the pieces to move around, like, we've seen Oracle bans and we have seen Naga bans, so like the profile of how to approach the match when you're on field will change, but the overall strategy remains the same.
Yeah, so I believe this is actually the first time we're seeing Etana being fielded today. And could this be the reason why we're not seeing the Etana that much anymore? Like, it's supposed to be a tournament special edition ship, but it just looks like it's melting. Rather, in this situation, it did not melt, but just people are not picking it.
Well, it's you can't just have one ship and say I win. There's a lot that comes into it. There's the support around it. There's where you're putting it. A lot of things that come in how you fitted it. For instance, like Enatana, has the extra mid slots, but what do people do for those mid slots? Do they put a shield extender in because they want more buffer to play with the XOSB? Do they put more resistance in? Do they put a sensor booster in? Do they put an injector in for more cap? There's a lot of things that come in. It's like the ship is good, but the ship itself is only a tool. It's the person who uses it, and then it's what else do you put it with here? So once again, to beat a dead horse here, it does come down, I think, to the support that was around it on Test's side. That he did what he could in Aratana, but at the end of the day, if your support's not there to really back you up to screen battleships and you're putting yourself in the wrong place, it doesn't matter what kind of ship you're in. I mean, you'll go down. We like it even goes back to the Hyperion we saw last weekend, where it's like the Hyperion has this rep behind him just being this immensely tanky ship that people don't generally want a primary unless they're caught in the brawl that they're stuck in and the Hyperion's only thing presented. But then having 2 attack battle cruisers and 2 battleships just deleting the Hyperion in 26 seconds. It's what you bring with the ship that makes it count.
Yeah, so we saw these 2 Nagas being killed off rather early in the match, and I was actually getting worried about the AP team when they lost to Nagas, but it just looks like they already did the job they had to do. They had put in so much DPS into these Sleipnirs, and Sleipnirs are really tanky battle cruiser, and they killed them off fairly quickly, and without the Sleipnirs, there's just not much damage left on the team.
Mm-hmm. Sleipnir is also quite a decent roadblock of there being bonus to the XOSB, the shield boost bonus. But then again, just with this Tempest coming on, then it's not enough. But I think maybe we should start talking about the show matches which we have coming up.
Yeah, that was what I was going to do afterwards. So since both Warlords of the Deep team and AP Stolen of It need some time to prepare for the next matchup, we're going to have some show matches to entertain the viewers and have a little fun with what you can do when you are relaxing the rules a bit. So we're having 3 show matches with some teams that have been eliminated before in the tournament. So it's great to see them back trying to have some more fun in the arena. And the rules are that they're not allowed to field ships that have been fielded in the tournament, but they can field any special edition ships. So they can
so they can have a limited edition ship, so that includes the state issued battleships that you can have. It includes things like the Gold Magnate, so not AT ships exclusively, just any form of limited edition ship which might not have been seen before. So well, interesting as well, Miz. I'm not sure if you have the bans open for these teams. Maybe we should go over the bans that we have for this first game.
Yes, the first match is 2 rigs, 1 ship versus VR4, and 2 rigs, 1 ship has banned the Hulk, Sinatra, and the Revenant, and VR4 has banned the Victorious Luxury Yacht. That's actually the ship I'm flying, an Orca, and a Porpoise.
So I'm gonna agree with VR4 here on the luxury yacht ban. While there's a Notcher and the Revenant can definitely put out a lot of DPS right now, I think the yacht's kiting potential could have made this already a time-based game where we could have seen the yacht just kiting for days around the arena, and then just they wouldn't have been able to apply any DPS to it and just winning on time.
I think the VR4 team is definitely worried about the mining output of the 2 rigs 1 ship team because they've banned both Orca and Porpoise, taking away a lot of the boosts available to their mining.
Well, it is worth mentioning.
Go ahead.
Oh no! Like, unfortunately, while these teams have been binding out, what you haven't been seeing between the ad breaks is CCP Chair has been coming into the arena with a Rorqual and just clearing out the grid every now and then.
Yeah, so VR4 is a high-sec war deck corporation. I believe they take R4 moons. So clearly they have been facing both Orcas and Porpoises on TQ, and they know how powerful these ships can be. So they have been really prepared for this and banning out these powerful ships. And another thing you have to remember is that the point values of some of these ships is going to be off in the tournament system. So if the points look a bit odd on the screen, then it's because the tournament system is not programmed for it, and we'll see who will win, and the referees will keep track of it there.
Well, luckily, it's just going to be for fun here, but I'm not too sure if we've lifted any fitting restrictions on that. Not that it matters too much, but hopefully we can see some real fun stuff happening on those empty chips they'll be bringing. I do believe the teams have actually spoken about making it as exciting as possible, though. Sorry. Trying not to give too much away until we actually get over into the arena side of things, but I can say that this is definitely going to be a fun match to watch.
Yeah, we're seeing the teams land on the grid, so the matches will be ready real soon.
So just we'll be having 3 of these showcase matches today. So after this, we're going to be having Wolves Amongst Us versus Spectre Fleet, and then for the final showcase match, we'll be having the winner of those 2 matches going against each other. We'll be trying to keep the time between these matches a bit shorter, just to have them follow up a bit more. But we hope you do enjoy watching some fun toys being shown in the arena here. All right, and welcome to our first showcase match here of 2 rigs, 1 ship versus VR4. Ms., what are we seeing here?
Well, if this was on TQ, it would be the most expensive battle in history. But unfortunately, this is Thunderdome, so these ships can be spawned out of thin air. But still, it should be a really fun thing to watch. So we're seeing 2 rigs, 1 ship bringing 2 Raven State issues, a Baraka, a Tiamat, 2 Imps, and an Imperia. And the VR4 team is going all in with the Megatron Federal issues, 2 of them, a Vankel, a Campion, an Utu, and a Cyclone. Just seems a little bit out of place, but suppose they wanted links.
Well, so yeah, it's definitely. I think they've definitely followed the rules here of not bringing anything that's come before. Though I'm gonna have to check up on that Cyclone. We might have a potential rules violation here, but no, just kidding with that one. But I'm gonna put my money on these Raven State issues. The Raven State issues have had a bit of a history behind them and being a potential wild card that would have shown up on a lot of TQ matches. There was always a debate of if Raven State issue was going to show up. I think it was Test who actually owns the Raven State issue, and I might be wrong on that one. I'm not sure if anyone can confirm for me, but we do see them here doing a long-range bombardment on the Megatron right now of Viking.
We have actually seen the Raven State issue once in a tournament match on TQ. It was PL that fielded it in one of their first matches. And Viking Chief in the Megatron Federal issue is taking heavy damage, but I believe he's hull tanked. like a real man in a real megaphone. He's going in with whole tank and blasters and brawling his way to victory.
Yeah, it's definitely like a bit of a slow journey catching up there, but the Megatron of Wagner getting screened, but they're definitely closing in on these Raven state issues. I think we're seeing long-range grapples applied right now, but the Morocco on the 2-rig side is doing a decent job of screening, though, although the Megatrons are finally getting themselves in range here. The Cyclone of Captain has gone ahead, and he's definitely going to secure the tackle over on the dday over there, dipping into those shields now.
Yeah, the Terra is taking a massive amount of damage. Like, Raven State Issue is known for being a shield tank ship, and when you're in armored, it's really bad. In the meantime, Viking Chief is just holding on in a low hull. He doesn't need all this HP, he just needs his damage.
I'm just watching all these little frigates, the Imps and the Utu and the Cambion. They're just flying around, having the time of their lives right now, flying those ships in the tournament. As we do see the one Megathron State Federate issue go down right now. I'm probably going to see the trade with the Ravens soon. But the Cyclone of Captain Hansen's falling around, so they're going to be losing some of the tackle they've been applying in the front there. So he goes down. The Timecodes of Isk Anders, he's keeping up. Looks like he's having some self-rep supply that keeping him there, but Vydra does go down.
Yeah, the Raven State Issue did hold on long enough for them to kill the Megatron Federal Issue and the Cyclone. And we're seeing Commander Puck's Imperia just burst up, not having much tank, but still they didn't need links, they just needed a morale corvette to bring them victory.
So we see the Vangel of Stefan now getting a bit hit. Vangel's like being one of my favorite HT ships, I'd say. It's a Sacrilege, which has the ridiculous nuke bonus of like a curse. So that thing is insane. We've seen it previous Alliance tournaments. It actually was played, fielded in ECM comps, I believe. But definitely one of the better AT ships, I'd say, along with the Malice. The Malice being a lovely little assault frigate. It's just like a tiny curse that's packed up into this little brick of a packet. But they are, Stefan and Wagner, both slowly getting tickled down here.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit spread DPS on both teams. Both the Megatron Federal Issue and the Vangel, and now also the U2 of Sven Hansen taking damage. And on the red team, having both the Raven and the Maraca and the Tiamat and the Imp taking damage.
So we just see a whole cluster of drones there. It seems like no one's really committed to any form of repairs here. Everyone just wants to go full in on the damage. You finally see the Imp over there, just disappear. So with that confidence, they're probably going to see if they can follow up on Joan and take him out too. Although he's probably gotten the message now and he's burning around. As you do see the U2 of Sven dipping into structure there. He's trying to keep himself up with some self-reps, doing a decent job, but they're either the timeout is going to start spooling and get a good hit off, or something's going to tackle U2 down and he's just going to get smacked across the face soon.
I believe he activated his ADC and now it's run out and he goes pop.
So now people just having fun. The Guardian Vex are dipping into structure. Just almost getting deleted. So interesting thing about a Guardian Vexer, that's also an extremely rare ship. Having a bonus to the amount of drones it could field, I believe, per level. Although I'm not too sure how that translates to the update we have. Well, I want to say update. It's quite a change that happened ages ago with the drones. Because back in the day with drones, I believe you could field as many drones as you could launch. Something like that. But Guardian Vexer having a rather unique limited bonus to drones in the amount of drones it can field at a time. But we do see the Vangel Stefan going down now.
Yeah, at this point it looks like a solid victory for 2 rigs, 1 ship, having 1 champion left to kill, and that pop goes the champion there. And that was show match number 1. A lot of shiny stuff, brawling it out in the arena. And let's send it back to the studio after a short ad break.
Hi. Clearly I'm not the real Brisker Ball. But sometimes it's not so easy to know what's real and what's fake. When on Reddit, check your facts. Drink quaff.
This message was paid for and sponsored by Quaff. Now introducing Quaff Glow, the incandescent beverage.
Hello and welcome back from the first show match. This is Anger Games, the only tournament right now where people love the ad breaks, except the one from Twitch. We do apologize about the issues with the stream. We're having a bit internet issues, but hopefully we'll get it fixed as soon as possible. So, Dujek, you're watching this match from the sideline. What do you think about what we saw?
I was not expecting the hull tank. The hull tank suddenly made the match a lot more interesting once the Megathron Federal issue ran out of armor but didn't die.
I mean, we've seen it before, having these faction Galente ship. They have a really high amount of hull HP by default, so you can get a really thick hull tank on them. But there's just not enough to take the victory for them.
So I think the fun thing there was probably the little frigates there, the two imps, Camby and the U2. They were likely having a lot of fun at the start of the match flying around, especially those imps. The imps being a Serpentis ship have a bonus to Afterburner velocity, but the imp is also an interceptor. So it also has a signature reduction for the MWD. Something special actually to note about a lot of these AT ships is they're normally taken as a snapshot as that ship hull class was when they introduced into the game. So a lot of the bonus which we saw, even though it later was removed, so like the SIG bonus radius for heavy assault cruisers, wasn't generally applied to things like the Vangel, because at the time the Vangel came in, that bonus didn't exist. They were allowed to still fit things like assault damage controls, but when you're looking back at a lot of these ships, and I think the Guardian Vexor is also a good example of this, it's almost like a snapshot of how Eve was at the time. Because AT ships will never, or limited ships will never get revisited again. They are as they are. The bonuses don't change. So when you ever see one and you see something funny on them, just know that's how it was back in the days.
Yeah, it's certainly something that the older limited issue ships suffer from. They are getting a little bit left behind by the power creep going on the normal ships. But as we're saying, that show match number 2 is Wolves Among Strangers in red versus Spectre Fleet in blue. And the Wolves Among Strangers have banned the Ibis, the Venture, the Badger, and Spectre Fleet has banned the Noctis, the Porpoise, and the Endurance. So seeing the Porpoise being banned again, this really strong mining support ship that can also provide links. These teams do really not want to see this ship.
I think the tournament meta is just catching on to how effective the Venture is as a tackle ship, and I want to shout out to Barry Foldar for tackling everything under the sun in his Venture. I'm pretty sure they just need to have the Venture out of the way so that they can field a proper kiting comp in this match.
think the Badgers quite a good strategic move here as well, because what we could have seen happen here is we could have seen something like an Apostle land on grid, and it could have just taken the whole match to eat away at that, and eat the 3,200 cap charges up, and just using that Badger to just have an endless supply of cap charges. But effectively removing that Badger as a choice here just means that they're going to be left with a lot weaker options right now, like a Bestower, which is utter garbage, as everyone knows.
Yeah, and one really interesting ban is the Ibis. This is a really strong ECM ship for only 1 point. It can jam out even the biggest and baddest ship just by fielding this little ship for 1 point. So it's really good value out of the point you are spending on it. I've actually seen it before in tournament matches where single Ibis could just jam a target long enough for the team to get this little edge they need to win the match. So definitely don't underestimate the Ibis.
Definitely has a lovely history of it, especially with Brave, I believe. Everyone wants to be the brave little Ibis that goes for the hero jams.
Yeah, we're having people in the system and just landing on the arena real quick. It actually looks like one of the teams is having, both teams actually having under, maybe not, we're having a little bit issues with the war, but the match should be up really soon, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it definitely is. So one thing that we'll be pointing out later is when I was speaking about these ships which have outdated, is one of the things that stands out generally is ship skill bonuses. So something would be classified as a heavy assault cruiser, but you'll actually see on these limited ships, it doesn't have any bonus to having the heavy assault ship skill trained, even though it is a requirement to fly the ship. So that is sometimes another thing that these more old school AT ships lose out on, is that they don't have these double hull bonuses that a lot of the newer things do. But hopefully we can sort these difficulties out soon so we can get back into the exciting match. I mean, I do think we have the last persons arriving here now.
Yeah, it's just that.
All right, welcome to the show match 2 for the Anger Games. I am Zurich, joined here by Dujak. Dujak, what are we seeing on grid here?
Well, I was a bit surprised. We seem to have one undersized team. They have a Megathron Federal issue, a Tornado, a Talos, an Adrestia, and a Fiend. And they're up against a Raven State issue, a Brutix, a Vanchel, a Mimir, a Malice, and 2 Cambions. No, wait. There's a Cambion on each team. I have just locked them up in the wrong order.
So the Murmur is what I was speaking about before with. It's actually a heavy assault cruiser. It can fit an ADC. It has the bonus to an ADC, but it only has bonus to Mimitar cruiser bonuses. It doesn't have any bonus to actually having the heavy assault cruiser skill trained. So it definitely loses out on that. But we do see the match kicking off here soon. It would help if I lock the targets, and we're underway. I feel a bit bad for these like Brutix and NATO and Talos pilots having these rather basic ships in while you can have all these toys, but then again, fly what you like.
And Flywood hasn't been flown in the tournament before, as everything is just piling onto that Raven State issue, trying to bring it down, and it is out of shields at the moment, but a Tornado just blows up immediately.
So both teams just going for the full-on brawl here right off the bat. We do have some fireworks being shot off here, so hope they don't kill the server. But the state issue definitely going down. So much more of a brawl we're seeing here right off the bat compared to the last game where we had the state issues bombarding them. So I think this is just a nice kind of kitchen sink. Have some good funs and lulls come in. I'm not sure if this Malice is going to do any effect, to be honest, but he's still in there just nuding people.
It's interesting to see that both teams are prioritizing taking the Tech 1 resist profiles off immediately. The Adrestia and Fiend and Manchel and Mimir and Malice and Cambions are obviously much tankier with their Tech 2 resists and potentially assault damage controls as well. So getting everything that can be killed early off the field immediately seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, so something we actually saw in the Alliance Opens where it was wildcards, teams had the choice of taking either 2 frigates or 1 cruiser. A lot of teams opted to go for the frigates, and we saw things like, I believe the Malice was one of the general top picks. Malice being a little curse vengeance that's just absolutely tanky, but in this case, I don't think a Malice is going to do anything, where it's more just like a brawl grudge match that's happening here. Maybe he's knocked out the guns on that Federate issue mega right now, but hard to say.
It would be hard for him to... he's getting on top of that Vandal. The attack bar is definitely going up. I'd imagine he has some cap boosters going as well, if he had to.
With the Vandal does go down, it's like, yeah, I forgot to mention the Vandal as well. A combination of them, it's just definitely killer on the newts. Like, Malice is definitely a scourge on the Frigologies that happened, where you could just like put 1 Malice on each Frigology before and just make a hell of awful day for those guys. But chunking through the Federate state issue now, Federate issue of Starlight here, but he's hull tanked and sitting there smugly right now, as the Malice already is gone and disappears.
For the last tournament, we saw some paired bans. If a team had Malices, you tended to see more Balgorn and Armageddon bans against them, and if they had Cambions, for instance, they were more into a Shield Rush setup, pairing them with the Nighthawks and Lokis that were so popular in that tournament for the mid part of it.
I think the one thing we do have to point out here, so Spectre Fleet did ban out the Porpoise here, so what we can actually see happening here is by removing those links on the opposite side, they probably gave themselves quite a bit of a headway here to, you know, make sure there's less effective HP on the opposite side, you know, removing those shield links. And we see them securing the win now, so Spectre Fleet winning our second show fight versus Wolves Among Us. And with that, we'll head back to the studio.
15 seconds to make a cool AT-AT. It's got to have dank content. Overused MLG man. And MLG Daniel wait. No profanity. How am I supposed to make an AT-AT without saying fuck?
What is the best Indian wormhole corp? That's Biotech LD.
Ah, you're teasing me, naughty naughty.
Bold is actually not an Indian corporation. Bold is actually not a wormhole corporation. Bold is recruiting. No ego PvP.
Introducing Grath Telkin, your personal assistant from Pandemic Legion.
Hey Grath, I'm 15 jumps out. Can I still get in on the fleet?
How the f are you 15 jumps away? Why would you be 15 jumps away from where the f we are?
Hello and welcome back to the studio. This was show fight number 2. Wolves Amongst Us versus Spectre Fleet. And what a brawl at 0. Both teams had all their ships warped in close to the center of the arena and just brawl it out there.
Oh, that was exciting to see that, just the raw potential of these ships against each other. It's a bit hard to kind of see how good these ships actually are when they're stuck in such a huge melee, AT ships versus AT ships. Normally you can see what kind of dominance these ships can exert when it's, let's say a Federate issue versus a normal Megathron or something like that. That being said, a when you were talking about just hull tanks and so on, I do believe a Navy Mega just outright still wins on the raw HP for the hull values, even beating out a Vindicator. But then again, the swag factor for these states, Federate issues, Imperial issues are just amazing still.
That Megathron Federate issue might as well have been Megathron Swiss cheese issue if you looked at it up close after all the beating it took to its hull. Somebody's posted pictures here in the staff chat, and it looks gnarly, to say the least.
Yeah, I believe it's General Stargazer, and you can probably see these screenshots on his Twitter account. But even if the the federal issue Megatron looks like Swiss cheese, it did take long enough for them to win the match. Could see how the attack battlecruisers got killed off really quickly, and then they swapped to this Megatron federal issue, got through the shield, got through the armor, and then it's like running into this sponge, just absorbing all the damage as they're losing their own ships. It's really a testimony to how tanky these ships can be.
I feel a bit sorry for the Raven State issue, which is on the grid, because probably still Torps. He probably got a few shots off, but he just got the leader right away, and rightfully so. State issues generally have that rep behind them of just being absolutely insane. I'm trying to figure out again why. I think the reason that these ships are so ridiculous is that they're just mainly the slots. Slots are just such an advantage as well. That's also why the Tana is so good. It's just slots. Slots is what give you the options. It means you don't have to compromise where you normally would have, and that's why these ships are so good. And
the Raven State issue is up there with a fully spooled Lashak for damage. It's got all 8 launchers and a bonus and a full drone bay, so it can easily hit like 2500 DPS Tech 2 mods only.
Oh, it's pretty good. So Miz, do you have a favorite AT ship?
It's a bit hard to pick, but I would say the Tremoas. I used to have one, and I sold it. It was the biggest mistake I ever did in EVE. But yeah, for tournament play, I really loved the Victor. It was a strong choice for a tournament since it could have these long range 90% webby fires, which offered a lot of control. Yeah, and for the people interested in seeing these screenshots, just linked in Twitch chat.
Speaking about the Victor, it's like when the Virtuosa and the Victor were kind of advertised as the rewards, like the last couple of the AT ships, I think before the Shack ones came out, we were promised status webification bombs from them because they were going to have a bonus towards those being Serpentis ships, but eventually that never happened, and we ended up with the status webification bubbles on the Dictors. So Jujek, I'm not too sure. Do you think status bombs would have been an amazing thing to have in the game?
For the tournament, it would certainly be interesting to see somebody bomb an enemy team and rush in on them, but they're not very fast and the range isn't very long. So I wonder if you tried to bomb somebody 50 kilometers away, if it would actually matter by the time it went off. It would have to be maybe faster than regular bombs. That's what we were talking about the other day about wobbles, where you're maybe catching somebody, but you're definitely catching yourself in the same wobble.
Yeah, this is the first tournament where we could, where teams could use these wobbles, or status webifying bubbles. To be honest, I actually expect them to be used a little bit more. We did see them in the open practices. It just seems like when you use them, you ended up losing your interdictor. So it's just not worth it. And in return, we've seen a couple of interdictor being used just because their combat stats got buffed.
Flycatchers have been a staple for forever, basically, and the Heretic occasionally. It's been a while since we've seen any sabers.
like when we see like the depends on the points almost. So if I'm looking at the points here, so we have interdictors at 5 points and tactical destroyers at 7. When that point gap gets a bit closer, the jackdaw just like completely takes over the flycatcher, obviously. But I mean that's a bit of a no-brainer. But the reason is like the flycatcher is just like a single low slot. So it's always interesting what teams decide to put in that low slot. You know, are they doing the fly killer setup and maybe they want to go nano, although you probably wouldn't, or is it a damage control you're putting, or is it a damage mode or something like that? But it is like you said, the fly catcher is a staple that we've seen even well, I think we saw it earlier in a no logi setup as well, with the paints and the drone team.
Yeah, certainly got a little bit overshadowed by Jackdaw's points allowing in later years after the tactical destroyers came out. They had their own niche when they were alone in the Tech 2 destroyer category. Or Tech 2 or higher.
The introduction of the tactical destroyers definitely put some competition in for both the interdictors and the assault frigates. I remember flying the Swivel a lot in AT-13 because it was just a really strong and flexible ship in the tournament. And then the years later, it just kept getting higher and higher point cost to balance it out. And I believe at this point it actually reached a really nice balance point. We have seen both interdictors, we've seen tactical destroyers, and we have seen assault frigates, and we also seen combat interceptors. So we actually seen a lot of these small Tech 2 ships mixed in between some faction and other stuff as well.
The first year or the first months of Sweeples being out, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye if you just said it was an AT ship and thrown it in with all the other AT ships. It certainly has aged well, whereas some of the AT ships have not as much.
Yeah, certainly. I remember Swivel being really strong when it got introduced to the game.
I think another thing for the like tactical side of things, or sorry, say the T3 side of things. So, you were speaking about the balance between destroyers and how the points cost has kind of had a nice balance here between the tactical destroyers can still deliver for what you pay for them, but there's still an advantage of going for the cheaper route. On the alternative, I personally believe that strategic cruisers, the T3 cruisers, have been in a really weird spot ever since they were pretty much knee-jerk reaction nerfed since the Tinker kind of logi setups. They can't use their logistics modules anymore. Well, they can use the subsystem. They just can't use. They can't actually be a logistics platform. They have a higher point cost, and it seems to me like a lot of the rules are generally put towards making sure that we will never ever again see strategic cruisers take the spotlight in such a fashion as they did in the past. We did see them shine a bit in the Alliance Opens with the Minmatar rush happening. We have also seen a couple of webification Lokis come in. People even making use of the Newt Legions every now and then, but I do still always feel like taking a T3 cruiser is a bit of a suboptimal, just based on how much points you need to spend onto them.
I don't know if it's the hottest take out there, but I feel like Tinkers being gone is like taking the rock out of rock, paper, scissors in a way, and with the resist nerfs of later years, I think that there might be some way of balancing them in again. I don't think they could possibly be as good as they were when you saw the triple battleship Tengu and Lynx setups of the olden days, but I think it would be interesting if they could exist.
Like the hardcore Tinker with the T3s, or just like a general ET battleship kind of Tinker?
Well, I don't think that we want to see the old school the comps where people took 6 ships despite being allowed to take 10, where you saw that the strategy of beating them was ramming ships into one of the battleships or into the logistics ships while webbing them, and just literally knocking them out of rep range of the logistics, as it were.
But I think, like, for this tournament, the reason we've also don't really allow any form of tinkers because with ETs are only allowed on logistic ships, and I think that also just might be because we're allowing the Atana, and allowing the Atana where if everyone could do a tinker is would have been a bit of interesting to see what teams would have just been wasting bans maybe on Atana constantly.
Yeah, I think it would be too powerful.
Yeah, and we are seeing the teams land on grid right now. A little bit different warp-in than last time. Let's jump to the arena where it's Dujek and I who are going to commentate the final show match of today. Hello everyone, and I'm Miss, and with me is Dujek. This is the final show match with 2 rigs, 1 ship in red versus Spectre Fleet in blue. So, Dujek, can you tell me about what we are seeing?
Well, we are seeing the most popular ships of this small side tournament, with Raven State issues up against Megathron Federal issues again. The Megathrons are accompanied by a Tornado, Fiend, an Opex Dragoon yacht, and a Cambion. I don't actually know what the yacht is capable of, whereas the Raven State issue is accompanied by a Maracha, 2 Imps, an Emperor, and a Tiamat.
Yeah, it looks like the entire of the blue team has warped in at 0 except the yacht, which is sitting at range, looking cool. In the meantime, the red team has all warped in at 50. They do not want to brawl like they did before.
I wonder if a yacht can fit newts. It doesn't have any gun bonuses, but it warped off and exploded, so...
I don't think he exploded. I
think he
believe battery violated.
They have a ridiculous inertia modifier, so they can go 0 to 2,500 meters per second in a second.
Yeah, and General Stargazer is saying in local that it went 143 kilometers per second before it explodified.
Well, we've got the standard trade-off of the Megathron Federal issue going into Hull soon, trying to take out the shields of the Raven State issue as it does so.
Yeah, it looks a bit like the previous matches. We're seeing the Ravens struggling a bit to hold the shield up while beating on these hull-tanked Megathron Federal issues. But the red team did manage to kill off the champion of Lilo.
Yeah, let's see if having a lot of support is going to help this solo Raven State up against the Megathrons, but he is going right into armor now, and it's going to be a difficult way to fight out for him.
Yeah, interesting enough, the Tornado of Insidious Sainthood is still alive. Like, this is probably the squishiest ship on the team, but they're not shooting it.
He's taking incidental damage, so I'd have to assume that he has drone cloud around him, where he's taking some small damage from the imp that is tackling him.
Yeah, we're seeing the imp just spinning around that tornado at high speed. It's an interceptor with the AB bonus that we know from censorships, so it's really, really quick, just dancing around this tornado, as the first Megathron Federal issue did go down.
And the Maracha is also taking quite heavy damage now, going into hull, but has its own self-rep shield. Not enough to keep itself alive, though.
Yeah, not much can survive against Blaster Battleship DPS once you're caught up. The Tiamat is trying to kite away, but he's tackled by the Fiend. So this is a heavy interdicted cruiser with the Sancha afterburner bonus, so it's really hard to pin down, but it can certainly pin you down.
I definitely feel for the imp pilot who was tackling the tornado. My very first kill on TQ ever was killing a tornado in an Atron, and I had terrible skills, so it took me forever to do so.
Yeah, this is certainly one of the things I really love about EVE, is that the smaller ships still have a chance against bigger ships. If you can get another guns, you can kill them off, even though it will take a long time. But these imps might not be able to take this tornado down, as there are other guys shooting them. And once again, this shot Commander Puck in his Imperia. This is really rude to do.
When you bring a morale ship, it should be allowed to fire fireworks to its heart's content.
And Joran Ekery in the imp is just kiting away, dancing around. Like, you can't catch me. Just flying around.
If he doesn't get grappled, he's going to be hard to kill for the rest of them. Like, they have nothing to shut off his afterburner, obviously. Maybe a nude or two, but he will lead them on a merry chase for another 5 minutes, given the chance.
Yeah, there's certainly not much he can achieve from this, aside from just trolling everyone, showing how fast and slippery this ship can be, while making everyone look like fools.
That is the best thing to do with afterburner bonus chips, is putting in a snake pod and going out and showing people that they're not going to stop you, not going to slow you down.
It looks like they're going for the edge of glory instead, seeing how far they can make it out of the boundary, as they are burning hard.
Witness him. No, he's turning.
Such a tease.
Now he's just dancing around on the boundary edge, making us look like fools, thinking he is going to boundary. Joan could fool everyone, but he couldn't fool himself.
Just dancing around, not even close to the edge anymore. And in the meantime, the Spectre Fleet team is just trying to catch up right behind them. But right now, the Fiend is in shooting range.
Yeah, having a warp disruption field generator scramble range bonus is the least useful bonus in existence when you have no MWD to shut off, and there he went right out of.
Yeah, I think he reached 177 kilometers before he explodified. And good fight. We'll have some quick and then we'll be back in the studio preparing for the last match of the day. It's a real match this time.
The match on a silver platter if this goes down. He can't do anything. This wildcard Atana jammed by a single Griffin. This is the brave story right here, right now.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the studio. This was the last of the show matches. I hope you all have enjoyed them. Just some silliness in ships that are usually extremely expensive, but here on Thunderdome they cost just a few numbers typed on your keyboard. So this match looked a bit like the others. Bunch of AT ships, some Raven state issues and some Megaphone federal issues, just brawling it out, and one yacht that boundary at the speed of light, as Vivian Stoneshard himself is putting up in Twitch chat. So, did you expect that?
It was definitely interesting to see the yacht just yeet off like that. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought it warped off. But it's just the massive acceleration they get. They're actually a GM ship, so it's just it's who you know. It seems, and then you'll be given some swag ships on the server. But this is Thunderdome server, so we have a bit more access here on the rest side of things. It's a Polaris ship. You need the Polaris skill to actually fly it. But then things like that happen. I would have been interested to see. I'm not too sure if it would be able to, if it might have just been too fast, but it would have been fun to see if he could actually have gone in for bumps, just aim that yacht at a ship and just yeet himself and see if he could take something out with him. That would have been fun to see, just play bowling with the enemy team. But I think it might have been just a bit too quick for the server to have actually handled that.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious to see, but I think with that really low initial modifier and agility, it might be going really, really fast, but it's like a photon. It's going to hit you at the speed of light, but it's not going to knock you over.
Unfortunately, the yacht I'm sitting in currently has a different mod layout, so it's hard to tell what its stats actually are, because I'm sitting on one that weighs 10 million tons.
Yeah, so there's a module which makes it that you have like insanely high, not well, as in your inertia transition is really quick, so you can go from standstill to accelerating really quick, or from acceleration to complete standstill instantaneously. Or there's another module which is just like an anchor, which makes sure that no matter what, you don't move. So there's a lot of GMs stuff that happens there. But I do have to say, in regards to these short matches, I was a bit disappointed that it was just constantly states versus Raven states versus Mega Federate issues. I was hoping a bit more exciting stuff would happen there, but it's at least they had some fun though, and we could actually just see why we don't generally allow this kind of free fall, even though it's on Thunderdome. Is that just ends up being these massive hunky ships fighting to each other, and then a little fast frigate just delaying his death.
Imagine their surprise when they wake up to see the bill CCP has sent to them tomorrow morning.
That would be something. Oh, it's like I remember for the Alliance Opens, we the deposit they put in, whatever ships they lost during the tournament would be deducted from their deposit, according to how much it was on TQ, and then they would get that whatever value was remaining back at the end of it. So if we're still doing something like that, they're gonna have to pay in now.
An acquaintance of mine sold his Raven state issue, or tried to, back when I played last, and he was asking 2 trillion for it, so they're not cheap.
Yeah, they're not cheap at all, and I'm actually not sure if there's any Megatron's federal issue left on TQ. But yeah, I also believe there's a really old story about the APOC Imperial issue, where he basically got AVOXed by some corp members. But that's a really old story in EVE, and it can really show how these special edition ships actually can make a lot of story on the TQ. But yeah, let's move on to game number 59. It's Warlords of the Deep versus AP Stole My Fit. So it's the last match of the day, and the loser will be eliminated. And there'll be only 3 teams remaining in the tournament. So the winner of this match will be placed in the top 3 and have at least secured a lovely bronze medal and some other prizes. Sorry, I had to sneeze. But yeah, the match should be in about 8 minutes. And Warlords of the Deep has banned the Curse, Blackbird, Sarmast, and Barghest. And AP Stole My Fit has banned Oneirus, Loki, Curse, and Guardian. So we just talked about how we're not seeing these tech-free cruisers that much anymore. And now we suddenly see a Loki banned.
Well, I think the Loki, like I was saying before, it has been one of the ones we've seen show up more consistently, especially in Alliance Opens. Having that webification bonus, it's not as great as the Rapier or Hugin, but it's definitely still absolutely amazing to have, and it's delivered on a ham DPS platform. Although sometimes teams do use the ACs still, so a Loki has a lot of versatility to it that it brings to the field. So, I mean, it's a good band still. The Blackbird's Arm, Curse, on point, I'd say here. Oneirus, interesting, I'd say. But the Arms band as well, below that's going on different sides. But what's interesting here with the extra band coming from the Curse on both sides, AP decided to go for the Guardian. So seeing that they themselves had banned the Oneirus and that Warlords had banned the Zarm they decided to just use their bonus band for the Guardian, making sure no T2 Cruiser Logi is going to show up. So it might actually, I'm not too sure on the prediction side here. So it might just be them either forcing towards the Frigology or the Shields, obviously. Or hey, I mean, AP Stole My Fit has done rather well on the low Logi setups as well.
Yeah, we're seeing the strong armor setup with the Tech 2 Armor Logi Cruiser doing well today, and now they're suddenly all banned out. And as you're saying, it forces people to either go Shield, or go Logi Frigate, or even downgrade to Tech 1 Armor Logi. But yeah, the Warlords, they banned the Curse, Blackbird, Sarmast, and Barghest moderator. What do you think about that?
About the bans from both teams? Well, I mean, obviously, just as you were saying, it would appear that AP Stole My Fit is very happy to just not see any sort of Tech 2 armor logistics out. Maybe they're more comfortable with either playing Frigate or they would rather see a shield setup from Warlords of the Deep. Warlords then with their final ban not wanting to see the Barghest, not wanting to get hit by what is likely to be that utility tackle in the mids and rapid lights that Barghests are often fit with.
I think AP are happy to not have to shoot a Logiless comp into a comp repped by frigates, and it is much, much harder with their style of long-range battleship guns to kill an armor cruiser Logi. So we could perhaps see a Rodiva. Like, we have seen some of them in this tournament. If somebody wants to, if Warlords wants to actually take armor with a cruiser Logi and fake them out. Or I wouldn't be super surprised if we saw something along the lines of the Garistas role-playing comp that we've seen earlier with rattlesnakes, Gilas, and worms in some combination.
Well, we did see AP Stole My Fit earlier. Just ignore the Logi and chew through the main DPS ships on the test team, since they've been fielding this all-in DPS setup. So if they're going to field this again, it might actually be advantage if the enemies are fielding logic frigates because they don't have the same prepping power.
Yeah, we see that both teams now have been moved into local. They're chatting to each other, saying hello to Aurora. They should be on grid any minute now.
But if you're in the Warlords shoes and you're expecting AP Stormer Fit to go with this all-in DPS setup, what would you bring up against it?
I think E-War is generally a good bet. I mean, the curse is still banned, but we have seen like the arbitrator show up before and being put to generally good use. So maybe something along that lines. We could see a Rook set up below, although the Rook or Falcon is maybe a better disadvantage against this general attack battlecruiser setup we see because it has a bit less range than the Blackbird. Who knows, maybe we even see something like a Kitsune for once. We haven't seen the electronic attack frigates that much yet. People are normally using their frigate slots for tackle and screening, or even the bombers. But speaking of bombers, that also might just be something we can expect if they're predicting AP Stealth Fit takes an attack battlecruiser setup. Excuse me, with the bombers just being able to evade those battleship weapons while applying full damage with their torps towards that battlecruiser hull.
Yeah, there's certainly many options available, and AP Stormer Fit may as well as pull off another setup and take everyone by surprise. Like, only time will tell. And as the moderator said, both teams are in the system. Just need them to warp to arena before we can swap to the arena camera.
We have been so on point with our predictions for this setup as well, I think.
Yeah, seeing these ships warp into the arena, like, oh my god, this is going to be awesome. And yeah, let's just hop over to the arena. It's Surak and the moderator is going to commentate this, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's just say that.
And welcome everyone to the final game for this evening, game 59 of Warlords of the Deep versus AP Stone My Fit. I am Zurich, joined here by Moderator. Moderator, what are we seeing on grid here?
Yeah, we're seeing that the Warlords of the Deep bringing a pair of Pontifexes, a pair of Hounds, the Rediva, happy to bring Armor Logistics anyway, the Tech 1 Triglavian Logistics, and a pair of Paladins.
And then we can see on the opposite side here with AP Still and Fit having a Rattlesnake, Nighthawk, 2 Gilas, Worm, Scalpel, and a Burst. So opting to go 1 T2 and 1 T1 Frigology. The Hounds on the 2 rigs, the Warlord side, do have bomb launchers fit. I'm not too sure if they're going to come to play here, but they do have the potential. These Hounds probably showing up because of what we were speaking about earlier on the panel. They might have been predicted that attack battle cruisers would have been showing up on the AP Still My Fit side, and then these Hounds would have been a really good option against them.
Yeah, I think they're still going to be an excellent option. I mean, torpedoes are going to do excellent damage into both the Nighthawk and the Rattlesnake of AP Still My Fit, but they're going to be likely pursued by these Gila medium drones as well as the Worm. I mean, that's just a lot of drone damage that can track and will want to follow these vulnerable ships.
We do have the countdown happening, and just speaking about missile systems here, the Rattlesnake has rapid heavies fit, the Nighthawk has normal heavy missiles fit, and these Gilas have their rapid lights fit. So quite an array of missiles here set up, but it does mean that AP Still My Fit is set up to have a more long-range approach for this game.
Yeah, long-range setup appears to be the thought process for the Warlords team as well, having come in at 50 kilometers. And now burning away, taking some chip damage onto that shields of Grunt in the Gila, who is receiving reps immediately from that Scalpel pair. We'll see if that will be enough to keep him up, as the Paladins were just going to be chunking him across the arena with Scorch.
Gillis is being a bit slow to drop the drones here. They're only coming out there now at the end, and now they're only flying in, so a bit delayed. I'm not too sure what they were trying to look to do. Maybe just, locking up the targets first of all, but we do see the Rediva of Lucas getting to low shield. No real threat to him yet. The main pressure being on Grunt with those Paladins just smacking into him right now. So as he probably gets close here right now in their approach, he's probably going to start mitigating a lot of their damage if these Paladins can't match transversal.
Yeah, so the Rediva now has that double pair of Valkyries on top of him and is getting a full complement of light armor bots on top of him that appear to be stabilizing him for now. We see that the Paladin of Athuvia has Berserkers on top of him, so a little bit of split damage. The Nighthawk starting to push across the field and being neuted out by the utility highs of that Paladin. The Nighthawk trying to burn around and close range on top of that Rediva. Meanwhile, Faffy Waffy is taking considerable damage as well, even though he is in the center of the arena.
Speaking about the positioning there, not too sure why they're splitting damage too much. The Gila of Grunt is dipping into low armor, but the Rattlesnake of Fluffy is actually isolated right now away from his Frigology, although he has crept a bit closer. So if they're able to finish this Gila and actually, put all the damage onto the Gila, finish him off, and then switch all that damage onto the Rattlesnake, they can put themselves in a good position. They still managed to take out Grunt, though. They probably could have done it a lot more quicker if they were focusing fire instead.
Yeah, AP Stole My Fit, the Worm on that side was pushing all the way out to 115 kilometers. Is currently being chased by a flight of light drones, but is otherwise staying up. Now these bombers appear to be just launching their drones as they've done an excellent job of splitting up both above and below him, just chunking across with long-range damage onto Faffy Waffy. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on. We see the Scalpel and the Burst are coming back towards Faffy to support him, but he's already into, pretty low armor, getting absolutely chunked right now.
And I think we're not seeing any real proper tackle getting onto Lucas Queen. So he does go down, just going along with his AB, even with the Worm trying to scram him there weren't really any paints, there weren't any webs. So even though they had him in range constantly and able to hit him, they just weren't able to fully apply that AB, mitigating a lot of damage and letting him waste so much time as eventually Fluffy goes down in the Rattlesnake there. And they seem to be switching now over to the Nighthawk of Damas, and he's immediately getting chunked into shield.
Yeah, the Warlord side did an excellent split of their bombers. Now Faith going into about half armor, but they were able to trade the Rediva for the battleship in that Rattlesnake, which is an excellent position to be in if you're Warlords. Faith Evangood now finally getting caught by those worm drones across the field does pop, but Faith survived for about 4 minutes into the match, and that's been 4 minutes of about 500, 600 damage from a bomber, getting absolute value throughout. Speaking of value, Damascus Kadesh now dropping. That's going to be most of the damage remaining for AP Stole My Fit, and the Burst going down as well. Vydra just sweeping up their Paladin core, never really being threatened this entire time.
Even losing their the logistics on their side, these Paladins still have an exceptionally strong presence on the battlefield here. But being Marauders, they actually do still have bonuses to tanks. While they aren't allowed to use the Bastion module, they still have the repair bonuses on them, and they still have the T2 resist bonuses as well. So you can see that Thuvia was taking some damage there, but just with self-reps, he's able to keep himself going quite strong, and there's really nothing really that AP Stole My Fit can do right now to contend with these Paladins, even if they manage to strip off these two Pontifex in the last hound.
Yeah, I can't help but getting the sense that the Warlords of the Deep, it feels like they really won this in the draft phase, where their composition was just well equipped to deal with what AP Stole My Fit brought to the field. They were able to put excellent pressure on the Gila, who was trying to kite out at drone range, but Paladins don't care if you're trying to kite. They have Scorch, and they're going to apply that damage, much like they just applied that damage to the Gila recently falling, and the Worm you can already see getting chunked across the arena. He appears to not be going for the Edge of Glory. Mystical Might himself just now finally dying to a pair of acolytes from that Worm as he was burning out to 120 kilometers from the arena. Worm falling, Scalpel has a cloud of warriors on top of him. Really excellently played by Warlords.
I have to say so as well. And this little mini death squad of Thuvia and Dexter roaming around their paladins, just annihilating stuff, sticking together. And probably as well, there would have just been this huge denial bubble coming from them with the Marauders having the spare utilities. They would have been having some smart bombs and newts in their highs as well. So anything which would have gotten close to the pair would have just been dead in the water. So just an excellent show from them as well. And quite a strong show for, I think, the first paladin match we might have seen in a long while yet. Just taking on the last Scalpel here of Baron. So definitely showing that, hey, you know, if you can just, even if you're bringing a T1 logistics, if you just buy time, buying time is what you need to win around, and trading, you know, a battleship for T1 logistics, just constantly just put them in a snowball effect, and they take the game of here. So Warlords of the Deep winning the final game for this evening over AP Stole My Fit. And we will hand it back to the studio for closing comments.
Oh, I'll have a, no. Oh, maybe, no. I'll have, no. Oh, maybe.
Are you planning on a day, sir?
I'll have a
bar guest. How original.
And with
extra paladin. Daring today, aren't we?
We've all had trouble. Multi-spectrum's not as hard as they used to be. The little blue pill, so you can last all fight long.
Let's get your ass back here!
Hello and welcome back to the studio for the final time for today, as this was the last match. Warlords of the Deep taking the victory over AP Stole My Fit. And Tujek, you had something you wanted to say about this Radiva.
Yeah, I feel like the bans and the actual team picks for this match perfectly shows how far we've come in this tournament meta-wise, where in the middle of the tournament people start coming with the largely less setups and all the damage, like double battleship, double assault battlecruiser and so on, and people think, how do we counter this? Paladins being one of the absolute tankiest battleships you can take in this format, backed up by at least 3 armor links, giving them every opportunity to tank the damage that could have gone up against them in 4 battleship DPS amount ships, and bombers to top it off that, as we said before the match, are not going to be hit by large guns. Now, they didn't actually end up facing that team, but they had accounted for the possibility of meeting that while also taking a comp that would match up well against a shield tanked, more traditional comp by taking more lasers to deal their damage.
So you heard it here on the Anger Games Rebirth. All you need is more lasers. And a Radiva.
Radiva's like repair lasers technically, so it works.
Yeah, repair lasers. Excellent. Surak and the moderator, do you have anything you want to add for this match?
No, I think I more or less, covered it during the match itself. I think that it felt like Warlords was better prepared off of the draft going into this match. They understood that their composition would do excellent against a more of a shield drone kitey setup, and I think that the results kind of speak for themselves here.
I have to say, like, it definitely shows. I'm not too sure if this comp would have been something that actually had prepared, way in advance, or it was just a response, halfway through or something. But either way, they brought it, they fielded it, they executed it well, and that goes to show. It's like Dujik was saying, the response to the meta and how you can adapt definitely shows who's a top tier team here. So Warlords definitely showing why they have their place here in the tournament.
Yeah, so we saw the Vydra team banning the Paladin in their match versus Warlords of the Deep. Do you guys think this was the setup they wanted to target with the Paladin ban?
I don't actually think so. I would have been surprised if they ended up flying Logiless all DPS versus Paladin in their own match had the Paladin not been banned.
We're having a question in Twitch chat about how many games there are to go. This is the final match of today, and then tomorrow there are 2 matches before the finals, which are best of 5. So yeah, it has been an excellent day. I think we're having some upsets and having some really close matchups and like some really good brawls. I've been really happy for these matches, and I've been saying really a lot in this sentence. But yeah, what do you guys think? What is the highlight for today?
I really enjoyed watching that Goondra upset with the close call there of about 5 seconds. Well, not 5 seconds, but just the Deacon living to win there to just edge the victory out and almost throwing it away right there at the end with the Ishtar also boundary. So going either way and just showing a really tight match. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I have to say that would probably be my favorite match as well. Seeing the Goondra team smart bomb those Warlords drones, just perfectly react to the situation at hand and make the correct call and upset the Warlords team. Who doesn't love seeing a good upset?
What about you, Dujik?
I think I enjoyed seeing trying to cut corners by bringing an assault battle cruiser up against double Hyperion in our Hyperion Oracle versus double Hyperion matchup, where the Arbitrator and the Rook ended up having a lot to say for the outcome, really showing how you can have more or less the same battle plan on each side, but good positioning and good E-War use having a deciding factor.
Yeah, certainly also a good match, but I think I'll agree with Surak and the moderator that the Goon upset was the highlight of today. Especially seeing the Deacon of River Geist living to win the last moment. Great to see other women in Eve kick ass. So this leaves us with only 3 teams remaining in the tournament. We're having Warlords of the Deep lurking down in the elimination bracket, and we're having Goondra and TEMPLIS being ready to face off each other tomorrow in the winners bracket. And the winner of that match will go to the finals and be guaranteed silver. And I believe I will going to wrap it up for today. I would like to thank you all for coming and watching this. It's been a pleasure, and also thank you to the teams for taking the time to practice and bring us some really, really good matches. And also shout out to Sofrasil and Dirk for being the masterminds behind this tournament. We're having the referees doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and then my fellow co-casters for bringing some really nice insight to these matches. So thank you all. I believe that was everyone, and so yeah, have a lovely day, and we're going to rate someone streaming some more EVE if you just can't get your fix, get enough EVE for the day. So thank you all, and goodbye.
Be there for the final tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it.
Hi. Clearly, I'm not the real Brisker Ball. But sometimes it's not so easy to know what's real and what's fake. When on Reddit, check your facts. Drink quaff.
This message was paid for and sponsored by Quaff. Now introducing Quaff Glow, the incandescent beverage.